Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is November 17th, 2019. My name is Eric Peters, and joining me today, Mr. Mike Tyson.
Hello, I'm here. Are you?
Hello.
Hello, are you here?
What? Am I an ear?
No. I mean, if you were, you're looking handsome and loby.
I think that's the first time anyone's ever described me as loby.
I think it's the first time anyone's ever been described as loby.
You're looking quite loby today. I'm going to try that on Christy.
Is there anyone else here?
Yeah, we have Mr. Dan Porter Curtis.
Oh, he stopped.
Yeah, sorry. Don't know what's going on.
What?
No,
what happened?
I entered a time dilation matrix, I think.
That was an awkward intro.
I had you two idiots talking about saying hello to each other, and then Eric got confused, and then it all went to shit, and we went back to pre-het internet.
You should restart, Daniel.
Yeah, you shouldn't have turned your computer off.
Yeah, for those who don't get the unwrapped, we had to wait a while because Dan decided to restart his computer. After we'd already... I thought he'd stopped again then. Jesus.
I think he had.
I did.
Oh.
It's doing my head in, honestly. I don't know what's going on.
Are you all right, Daniel?
No. My computer's doing my head in, stupid potatoes.
Do you want me to come and give you a cuddle?
Do you need a hug? Would you like some of my lobes?
I have no idea what you said because you froze again.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, well, Eric, we'll just carry on, shall we? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Not as loby as some, but
not as loby as some. We don't have Tom with us today. He has given up his room to a small animal, to who I assume he's given cream.
Yeah. Just to be clear, it's a nice animal. It's not like just a ravenous badger or anything.
Well, that we know of so far.
Well, he hasn't seen it for a few hours, has he? So
yeah,
it could have turned into a badger. It could have been a badger in disguise.
It's just Meatloaf in it behind his couch.
New pet cat, badger in disguise.
We tried. Tom made the mistake of asking us for names for his cat yesterday. That goes well. That got fucking out of control real quick.
Well, yeah. They should go with they said Jenkins, didn't they, as a suggestion?
Yeah, but I don't know.
He looks like a Jenkins.
I really hope he goes with Devo.
Yeah, but to give some context, yeah, he's got a new pet cat who's taking some time to adjust, and he's using Tom's recording area as a safe space, so Tom didn't want to disturb him.
Damn snowflake.
So if you want to send Tom some love because you love his love of animals, stop saying love in there. At Hyperjelly on Twitter. Tell him everything.
Tell him about his cat.
I mean, he's probably already got a cat.
He does.
So don't just tell him about it. The fact that he's got a cat implies that he knows he's got a cat.
But he also has a cat, as in he's marrying a cat.
Are you allowed to do that?
Well, if she's a girl. Oh, I mean, okay, let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
It can't be as bad as the road you invited me on down the show before we started.
I invited both Dan and Mike down a road. And it was not nearly as exciting as it could have been.
No, I was a little disappointed, to be honest.
It just had to do a little bit of pink, a little bit of rose gold, a little bit of technology.
I ain't going anywhere near your pink.
All I'm saying is, Eric, you can get yourself a rose gold controller if you want to.
I would love to get one.
And then you can put it in the box on your shelf.
No, controllers are the one thing I don't. Those are meant to be played with.
You could start a new trend.
What? Opening controllers?
I'm going to buy a Pro controller.
Oh my God.
Sealed.
I dare you.
There's people out there who literally collect Joy-Con colors.
Yeah, you spend thousands on that.
Yeah, I think IGN guy, is it Per Schneider?
He has all of them. Yeah,
he collects every single one. He even got like the special Tsum Tsum one that you got with the Tsum Tsum.
Yeah, he had to buy a Disney Switch, didn't he?
Yeah. I do like the little Mickey
that
Mouse.
That was Japan exclusive, wasn't it?
I think
it was.
So. Yes, it was. Yes.
Which funny, it came out just before they did the remodeled Switch as well, so it's the not the improved battery, which is a sham. A sham, I say.
Tell you what, getting those brand new Joy-Cons has quite revolutionized my Switch playing. I didn't realize how fucking broken my launch Joy-Cons were.
I just don't know why you didn't buy some new ones in the first place.
Well, I bought
the amount of shite you buy as well.
Yeah. Well, you know how he always he'll just carry on playing games that he doesn't enjoy. He's just doing the same with the controllers.
Yeah. You know what? I just got to keep you guys guessing at all times.
Guessing whether you're an idiot or not.
Yeah.
No, that we definitely know that is true.
Or am I?
Yes.
Oh, that's simple enough.
I am jealous of your green ones, though. Obviously, I've got the one green one from the green and pink Splatoon set that I got, but it'd be nice if both of them were green. Oh. Dan's gone silent.
He's in a 1920s silent film.
Yeah. You're going to have to... We're going back to the miming again. Dan, you're going to have to mime.
How about whenever you want to talk, just write it on a notepad?
It'll work for an audio podcast. Hey, he's back. He's back.
Oh. What's it like?
I always love these errors because obviously we lose him, but he's now on his recording. So to the listeners, he was actually there. And we go, what?
Yeah, thanks for giving me a lot of editing to do.
It's fine. It's about time you learned how. Only episode 191 or whatever it is.
Minimal effort, maximum quality.
Maximum gains.
What?
Maximum gains. That's what all the gym buffs say. Gains.
You look like a gym buff.
Do they?
I don't think that's what they say.
Really?
Really what?
Someone at Dan, who's a gym buff.
Dan, when's the last time you were at a gym?
2 weeks ago, but I was only in there because we've got one at the college and something was going on.
Oh, so
what was going on?
People getting maximum gains?
Something in the boxing gym. Can't remember. All blurs into one.
Isn't it your job to make sure that the stuff that's going on where you work is publicized?
Yes.
So surely you should have known what was going on.
I did at the time, but I forgot afterwards.
He goes and then sits down at his computer. Right, what happened? Gains, that'll do.
With a Z.
Yeah, three Zs, 4 exclamation marks as a headline, and then it just says gains over and over again in the article.
That sounds like some of my best work.
School, picture of one of those old school muscle men in a singlet and a mustache.
That would be quite good, to be fair.
Want gains?
Probably with Eric's head on it.
Yeah.
Everybody
that's an
idea. At the
that's
university.
an idea. We'll start that this week.
I don't want to be the mascot of your college.
You may as well be. You've earned everything else.
God, could you imagine if somebody made a giant mascot head of mine?
Come to this college, you can be as smart as this idiot.
I'll just get a
Daniel.
10-foot high banner done of that image of him where he's waiting for the ladies to show up when he's in his track gear. Form an orderly queue and come to my college.
We've seen a stark decline in our attendance rate. Do you have an explanation?
In what, sorry?
Our attendance rate. Our enrollment rate.
I see you've done a college kind of segue thing there.
It'd probably help if you had better internet where you could have caught all of the words.
Yeah, it probably would. It's not actually internet, it's the potato today.
It's almost like we told you not to restart it.
It would have been worse.
Oh.
Are you sure?
I'm getting 90% of what you say now, so that's an improvement.
Oh, well, not like we're trying to record a podcast here that's integral on us listening to each other.
Hey, we got through the phase where I used to be on standard broadband, not fiber, so we can get through this.
Negative review incoming.
Yeah.
No, not again. I'm due one.
Yeah, you and Tom are the only ones that don't have directly negative reviews.
Do you know what it is, Eric? I've come to this conclusion. They're both just not interesting enough.
Exactly. You got to be on one end of the spectrum or the other.
Is that the ZX spectrum?
You are both
well,
men
Z
of
and X
extremes.
are really close to each other, so it'd be the AZ.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was trying to bring it back to video games, you see.
Oh, I missed it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you don't have one of those.
Well, I do.
So, Eric,
not all of the tapes factory sealed.
Yes, Daniel.
So, from what I gathered, what did you say?
I pulled a Dan Curtis. I don't remember.
Something about enrollment and attendance.
Rolling back the jokes.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
it's going to be one of those shows, isn't
what
it?
a shit show.
Are you referring to my attendance on the show, Eric?
No, I was referring to you using my head as the mascot for your school. Then you get called into your boss's office and they say, we have seen a stark decline in enrollment. Do you have an explanation?
If I'm honest, the joke wasn't even funny enough to warrant being said a second time.
Exactly.
Add it to the book. Eric Peterson's joke book coming 2021.
Oh, God. So, Eric, did you see the card that Dan sent me for my birthday?
I did, yeah. He was quite proud of that one.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, it was my birthday earlier this week, and Dan got his Mike's dad joke books picture that he made with Tom sat on my knee, but got it made into an actual birthday card. I'll have to share it on the community.
I've had that, Mike. I've had that made for weeks, and I put a delay on it so it gets sent directly to you for your birthday. And I've just been waiting.
I like how there was
funny.
that mix-up with the package too, where you specifically told Hazel hide this, and then she just fucking opens it and sends a picture of it to Mike. That was great.
So I won't go into too many details, but Dan got me a mug, which has something on it that I moan about politically quite a bit. And Hazel just like, I was at work and just got a random picture of this mug. I was like, oh, is that new, is it? She goes, no, it's randomly turned up for me. I don't know why. And I was like, have any of the boys told you they're sending you a birthday present for me? And she's like, oh, shit.
Pretend you didn't see that.
And then Eric's present arrives, which Eric has said to her, literally, he can open it as soon as it arrives. She hides.
Is Hazel all right, Mike?
I don't know. I just don't know.
Love you, Hazel. I'm sorry.
Good work. Just stellar work there, Hazel.
Married life. Oh, good stuff.
She was very happy with the card that Phil Gartside's designed, though. So for some context, one of our listeners, Phil Gartside, he's doing a project where he's creating sort of like Pokemon card style things for us and like the stuff that we say on the show. And he actually did one for Hazel as well, and it looks amazing. He's been sharing sort of previews of them on the community.
We have seen
absolutely hilarious.
We have seen a microscopic.
I can't believe we've got.
Go on.
We've seen a microscopic cross section of what he's actually done.
Yeah,
I am.
He did a Father Gascon one, didn't he?
I'm anxious to see the rest.
I really enjoyed Anatomy of a Straddle. I thought that was hilarious. It's got a picture of somebody doing a straddle, but it has like measurements going from the legs to the ground for the perfect distance.
Use it as a guide for next year's straddle contest.
I hope that he actually makes these into a deck of cards.
Me too.
I
can't believe we've even got to the point where somebody is doing this. It's insane.
We have influence.
See, Eric, you are an influencer.
But don't call
Tom was
me
right.
an influencer.
You're an influencer.
Hashtag living his best life. Speaking of Instagram, please follow us. I can't even remember what it is.
Oh, God.
Aren't you the social media guy?
I am. Doesn't mean I need to know what it is.
How many times did you remind us on to make sure we mentioned this on the last show and we just completely forgot?
It's at Factory Sealed Podcast, so you've got no excuse. That's pretty easy to remember. Unlike
but you couldn't remember it.
I know.
Oh, Dan.
So, yeah, we've got some good stuff on there. Like the latest question, for example. I wonder if you guys might answer this as well. Would you rather laugh like Titus or have a voice like Toad?
Oh my God, speaking of Toad, that video that somebody shared out about Toad singing Chandelier. Oh, boy.
Give us an impression, Eric.
I can't. I mean, I feel sorry for the guy's neighbors when he was recording that. My kids were listening when I first played that, and now it's just become a thing that they want to listen to. Like, I can't.
Oh, God.
I hit 39 seconds in that, and as soon as he starts screaming, I just lose it every time.
Can you get Ellie to record If You're Happy You Know It, Poop Your Pants, but in Toad's voice?
That's right. She sang that, didn't she?
Yeah, so Eric sent us this video a few weeks ago of like his kids like they didn't realize Eric was recording. Like they're just out playing on Eric's landing. This guy, if you're happy and you know it, poop your pants. If you're happy and you know it.
They don't
definitely
they don't,
your children.
They don't do the actions, do they? And actually follow through.
They're my kids. I've gotten Amelia to the point now where when she farts, she'll give me a high five. It's just become Pavlovian. She just farts and then just looks up for a high five from someone.
What's going to happen when she does that? What's going to happen when she does that at school and everybody's really confused?
I don't know. Raising kids is a dangerous affair.
Yeah, it worries me that you have two.
Yeah. Well, you just like download all your little fucked up manifestos onto their head.
Are they forcing you to play Pokemon yet?
They are, yeah. Are we getting into games? Because I think we need to. We got a lot to talk about.
Ooh, we do have a lot.
Really?
Yeah, we do. So I didn't actually pick anything else, like anything retro up. It's mainly just been new stuff. But yeah, Pokemon came out Friday. First actual console-based Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Like proper Pokemon.
Well, if you don't count Let's Go.
We don't.
Yeah, it's the first mainline Pokemon.
Got it. Yeah, and Ellie she's always been pretty into Pokemon, but her interest has skyrocketed recently. So when she saw that was coming out, she definitely was like, Dad, we have to get that. Like, all right, which one do you want to get? And she went back and forth between Sword and Shield for a while, but she settled on Sword because Swords are cool and Shields are boring. That was her rationale, so that's how we ended up with what we have.
Eric,
which one has Sir Fetched on?
Sword.
That's the right choice then, because that is
Um,
an amazing Pokemon.
The thing is, you say shields are boring. Excuse me. The superhero with your country's namesake has a shield.
Boring.
Eric said America was boring.
Oh. No, but Shield does have the Galar version of Ponyta on there.
I saw that.
That shits all over Surfetched.
I'm not even going to pretend to be any sort of in-depth Pokemon fan. I have no idea what's going on.
Give it a go. Like for 20 seconds, pretend you know what you're on about.
Jesus Christ, I can't.
Go on, just give it a go.
What do you want me? Okay, what do you want? What do you want me to do?
What I want you to say is, right, repeat after me. I want to be
the very best
that no one ever was.
That no one ever was.
To catch them
is
my real test.
my real test.
To train them is my cause. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em.
It's you and me.
And it's my destiny.
Why do you always sound like you're having an aneurysm when you sing?
It's the best way.
Maybe he is.
That lovely het voice. No, I put this in, and to me, I played a bunch of Pokemon Sun, so I do have somewhat of an idea that's going on, but Sun and Moon, correct me if I'm wrong, were pretty starkly different in that it didn't have the gyms or the trainers and all of that other stuff, did it?
See, I haven't played, apart from Let's Go, I haven't played since Black and White, which I don't know what gen number that is.
Sun
So
did
I
have...
skipped X and Y and Sun and Moon.
Sun did have trainer battles, but it changed up the gyms by having Island Kahunas, I think.
Yeah.
And you needed to beat them. They were basically gym battles. And then there was a totem Pokemon you could fight as well.
See, and our conversation in our WhatsApp chat last night, where Mike was talking about paying specific attention to the what are they, the
natures
of your Pokemon, and then which skills level up fast and which ones level up slow.
That one's a bastard. Took you both a while to get that one.
It just came out of nowhere. Hey, look, here's this Caterpie I've caught. It's a bit of a dick.
It's a type of nature, I guess. I'll call it Karen.
Go on, Eric.
See, when I play, I just capture every fucking Pokemon possible. If I run out of Pokeballs, I go spend all of my money on more, and I just catch every Pokemon imaginable. I don't pay any attention to the stats.
It's almost like the tagline is, gotta catch them all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing what the game is telling me to do.
Yeah.
And here's Mike over here. He's like, nope, I don't want that one. So what do you, like, if you capture one and then you look at its statistics, do you just throw it on the fire and eat it?
Yeah, so in your PC box, you can select it and release it back into the wild.
So I have a question for you guys. Obviously, I am not versed in the world of Pokemon. And I asked my mom.
Pretend to be.
Okay. So.
Just repeat after me.
Okay. I feel like we've been here before. In the world of Pokemon, there are Pokemon everywhere. They are monsters. They are the wildlife of the world. Okay?
Yes.
People need to eat.
Yeah, they eat the Pokemon.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So is there like a black market of trading Pokemon for food, or is it just... Because how do you know which ones you're going to train and which
There's
one?
actually, I haven't encountered it yet, but I saw it from all the previews and stuff. There's actually like a new Pokemon that's basically a cake. Well, it starts off as like cream, and then when it Dynamaxes, when it gets bigger, it turns into a cake. And I think it has something to do with like the happier the Pokemon is, the tastier it is.
There have been ones in the past, for example, which there is an ice cream Pokemon as well.
Well, that one I could understand eating, but like... Can you go to a Pokemon grocery store and get side of Pikachu?
Maybe.
And rack of Snorlax?
We haven't got up to Pokemon Slaughter yet. We're still waiting for that generation.
This is why I don't develop video games.
I'm surprised there's not a hack out there, to be honest.
You just come across this gigantic farm of I don't know, what's a cow Pokemon? Only one I can think of that's farm animal related is Mudbray.
Taurus is a buffalo?
A buffalo, yeah. So you just walk into this farm and they're all stuck in this area, and then this big, kind of like from South Park, this razor blade comes out, or this saw blade comes out and just cuts all their heads off. And
they get their milk, I assume, from milk tanks, which are basically cows, but they stand upright and have giant udders of doom.
And do they just do like this?
The milk tank just grabs its own udders and starts squirting everyone.
Went down a dirty road here.
Dan, can you just do that mime again?
Point your camera down a little bit, though. I want to see that. Oh.
Yeah.
Lower.
Just
Lower.
the one.
Thanks for having pants on.
It's okay.
Oh dear.
We're playing strip podcast this week, guys. If anybody says a catchphrase, you have to take a bit off.
Oh shit, we'd all be naked
God.
by now.
But But no, what Eric was referring to is Eric was just catching whatever and using whatever, and I was like, I managed to find some Caterpies, and I was like, well, I always enjoy using Butterfree early on in game anyway because it's quite useful, and a lot of its attacks are use its special attack stat later on. And I was trying to explain to Eric how obviously the natures affect certain stats and things like that. And I was like, I want to find the right one because every single one I catch seems to have blue special attacks, so it raises lower. And Eric was like, I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck. I got 14 Mudbrays.
See, I as I said to you in the chat, Eric, though, you don't have to. This is Mike's getting into the meta game of the whole competitive nature of it. Like, they have minor differences between the Pokemon, which can give you an edge in online competition. But every Pokemon game I've ever played, I have pretty much exclusively used my starter Pokemon to be 90% of everything you face.
Yeah.
So that's a really fucking dull way to play it, though.
It's not. You get a super powerful starter Pokemon, which is awesome.
No,
and
so
you put EXP share and everything else, and they get leveled up as well.
That's kind of how I played through Sun. Is I think I had Rowlet to start with, and just plowed through the game with him. But I looked at the chart that you guys sent me about which ones beat which other ones, and it's
the type chart.
Yeah, it's an extremely complex chart. So
I mean, not really.
Trying to remember all that shit.
Well,
I don't know.
Keep a copy on your phone. That's what I do.
Nah.
Because like I've never played a game with the fairy type, for example. That's one that came in, I think X and Y. I want to say that came in. So I've never really dealt with the fairy type before, but because it came in on the second generation, although like Gold and Silver has been my favorite generation so far, I sometimes still get a little mixed up with like Steel and Dark and what they do because they obviously weren't in the original.
Yeah, I know all the OG ones, I think, but there's ones, for example, such as when I think Rock is weak to flying, which makes no sense to me.
No, that's not right.
Or Rock is weak to fighting or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, punch a rock, that works, you know.
Yeah, because they're super strong and they can break the rocks.
I do like some.
It's obvious. It's physics. Physics, Daniel.
I do like some of the new Pokemon that are in here. I can't remember all their names, but the one that looks like a little corgi, Yamper.
Yeah, it's quite cute.
What's another one that's very... I don't remember any of them.
But we'll probably get into it. But I got so one of the features of this game is if you have save data from either Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu, there's some NPCs that you can meet, and you will get a free Pikachu or a free Eevee off them if you've got the save data on your Switch. And they can then Dynamax, which is a thing where they get bigger and you can use them in battles and stuff. And the Pikachu version turns into when he Dynamaxes, turns into like the old school like fat Pikachu, which I really enjoy.
Is there any other way to get those two Pokemon, or is it exclusively that?
I have no idea. I know that if they are in the game elsewhere, I don't think they can Dynamax. I think it's exclusively those two that.
So, Pokemon Sword and Shield are actually getting review bombed right now because of people being pissed off that the...
Oh, Dexit.
Yeah.
As it's been dubbed.
Yeah. What are they pissed off about? The fact that the OG Christ. Pokemon aren't in the game?
No. What it is so every single game so far, in one way, shape, or form, you can do the national dex. Basically, you are able to, in some way, shape, or form, get every single Pokemon that has ever existed up to that point, like through trading with the other games and things like that. Now, the creators, so Game Freak, it was a few months ago, they announced that not every Pokemon will be available in these games. If you try and transfer a Pokemon that hasn't been put into Sword and Shield from another game, it'll tell you that you can't. And everyone is pissed off about it. So everyone's been review bombing it. But people have just been like nitpicking at shit as well because of that. So like there was people like proper zooming in onto some textures that were popping in and out on the trailers. But I mean, when I say zooming in, they had to proper zoom in and then circle it. And I'm just like, if you're having to zoom in that far to find these errors, they're really fucking problems, are they? But yeah, everyone's kicking off because not every Pokemon is there. And then they released a chart recently showing you all the Pokemon that will be in and all the Pokemon that aren't. Like, they just put like green and red squares on them, and there are quite a lot that are missing from it. But people are just being fucking pissy, man. I mean, I don't mind the fact that not all the Pokemon are in it, because one of the things with the trading in Pokemon, now don't get me wrong, the trading and everything is cool, and the fact that you can, you could have had a Charmander from back in your old games that's, you evolve to a Charizard, and that's been your Charizard all the way through your Pokemon adventures and everything. That's cool. I like that. But I always think in some ways it can affect your game balancing. Because as you go through the games anyway, the Pokemon that you catch, like the levels that they are or the types that you catch and things like that, always created a game balance anyway. So if you're then trading other Pokemon in, you're going to affect your game balance. And I think that hopefully what I've seen so far, that not having all these Pokemon that you can trade in is a good thing in my eyes.
Well, I don't have time to
concentrate on that.
In that aspect, I don't know if it's true in this one, for example, because the trading is limited, but in the older ones, if you traded a higher level Pokemon to yourself and you didn't have the necessary gym badges to make that Pokemon obey you, it wouldn't. And in the middle of a battle, it might just decide to have a nap or just not listen to you and things. So, but for me, it's basically, I can understand why Game Freak has done it, because this was always going to happen because of all the generations of Pokemon. How many Pokemon is there now? 600 plus? Something like that?
More than that. I think it's like 804. Sun and Moon, it went to 849.
Yeah, 804, I think.
Oh, God.
It's over 800 anyway.
Bear in mind, original game, we used 41. To have 150.
Oh.
150.
So, yeah, so then they added Mew in as 151, but since then it's got bigger and bigger and bigger. You've got to think that's, 800 plus character models which have to be animated correctly in every single generation. And
but to play devil's advocate, Dan, sorry to interrupt you, to play devil's advocate,
how dare you?
If that was the case that they couldn't get had to have time to do the character models, delay the game. To play devil's advocate, I'm not agreeing with people who are bitching about this, but
it'd be interesting to see if they patch a few more in.
I don't think they will.
As someone,
because they've even said that They Game Freak said themselves, with the amount of Pokemon we have, this was inevitably going to happen, and the next game might not have them all again. I think they've said as well.
But people who play this,
it kind of goes against Pokemon's got to catch them all thing, doesn't it? I guess.
Do you think most people who play it actually collect every single one, or do you think that's a small subset?
I think it's a small subset. I think it's a vocal minority for sure.
The only one I've ever done it on is first generation, because there wasn't that many. Compared to the rest. I mean, even then it took a long time.
The thing is, right, I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this, but
say it anyway.
But at its core, Pokemon, let's face it. You're right there, Eric. What just happened?
I grabbed the wrong coffee cup.
Oh. Okay.
You were doing Tom 4 beverages over there.
Oh, Jesus God.
Anyway, Pokemon at its core, let's face it, it is a kid's game in a way. Obviously a lot of adults love it, a lot of adults have grown up with it, me included. But, the main target audience for these games, they are not going to give a fuck that the National Dex is not in there.
Yeah. I don't.
Look at Ellie, really massive. She's not playing it. She's watching you play it.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking at it and not to simplify it too much, but she's looking at it and going, "Oh, fantastic! Bright, colorful monsters, really nice to look at, beautiful music."
She knows the Pokemon when she sees them on the screen. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Onyx! Let's get it!" I'm like, "We're gonna get fucked up."
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that to your daughter, mate. That's not.
Got to learn sometime.
Yeah. They don't give a shit. But this whole review bombing thing, it's just fucking petty, man. Grow up.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend right
and
now.
You're upset about this Pokemon thing. I'm probably offending you, but just if you review bombing a game because of something like that, and then trying to nitpick other problems that just don't exist because you're not happy about this one thing, fuck you, man.
Oh, Mike, you're just racking up them negative reviews.
Yeah, I know. What can I say? Controversial. But
it's all right. I agree with you in this aspect. I think we live in a society where just complaining about things is just what we do.
It's so fucking entitled, man. It really is.
Everybody thinks that everyone needs to, that everything needs to appeal to everyone. And that's not how things are designed anymore. If something doesn't appeal to you, I'm going to bitch about it until it does. I mean, look at Sonic. That is case in point of people just bullying to get their way. Granted, it sucked, but it is a proper case in point of squeaky wheel gets the grease.
I don't think that was a vocal minority on that one, though.
No, but still, it goes to show that, okay, I mean, we've kind of set a precedent with that now, where if the internet throws us enough of a hissy fit, shit will change. And yeah, sometimes it can be for the good, but a lot of times, look at this, for example. It seems to be a minority of people that really care.
I mean, this is going back a little bit here, but I brought this up on the show around the time it happened. But I remember when they were releasing more and more outfits for Spider-Man on PS4, and there was a vocal minority completely slagging off Insomniac, because they hadn't
played too
done
much Final Fantasy 15, man.
Yeah. They haven't. They wouldn't. It wasn't including the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire outfit, and they were bitching, and they ended up releasing it. But Insomniac themselves said afterwards, like, we already had this planned, and now it kind of looks. We were going to release it a little bit later, but we've released it early now because everyone was bitching about it. Like, those people who were bitching about it seemed to think they made a difference. It was happening anyway.
Yeah.
I've listened back to the episode recently where we talked about the original Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer, and we had these exact same discussions.
Yeah, is that when I brought it up, the Spider-Man thing?
Yeah, it was,
yeah.
But, it's interesting just to hear it harken back to that. But while, yes, I am contradicting myself a bit, that people throw a hissy fit on the internet and things like that, I feel that in the case of this Sonic movie, they got it so drastically wrong that it needed a change. Even if the majority of the internet didn't react badly to it, I feel they should have looked at it and went, yeah, that's terrible. We need to change this.
Let's look at something hypothetical here for a second, though. What if they did that on purpose?
Yeah.
All right.
We
put your tinfoil hat on.
Yeah. As Mike would say, let's put our tinfoil hats on here. Because that, like you said, Dan, that design was so drastically wrong. It didn't even, like, side by side, it didn't look like Sonic. I mean,
but it wasn't just that it didn't look like Sonic; it looked terrible in general.
Yeah.
I watch a channel. I forget what the channel is, but it's called CG Artists React, and they shat all over it.
So,
have you guys seen that the actual designers of it said, "Well, this is what we designed in the first place," and they said no. You know, the design it's got now. He said, "This is what we wanted in the first place," and we got knocked back.
Oh, really? So I wonder who made that decision.
I don't know. Like someone in a room somewhere.
It needs to look like a freakishly large hedgehog with human teeth.
Think about the free publicity that movie got. I would be willing to bet that movie is going to do infinitely better now than it would have had they put this design in the first place and released it just the normal route of a movie development, because now everybody is aware of, hey, here's that Sonic movie where it looked like shit and now they made it look better. Let's go see it.
But it's not just the design that they've made look better. It's actually the actual structure of the trailer and how it's put together. It
was a completely different tone, wasn't it?
Yeah, it has aspects which harken back to the actual original games. Like, for example, you see Green Hill Zone, it plays the music.
Oh, when he runs up over that loop. Oh.
Yep. And it harkens back to that, but then the trailer doesn't have any Gangster's Paradise, which is always good. And
I kind of liked that.
And it also has much more humor in it. But I saw, again, this, I've remembered, it's Corridor Digital. They do all these CGI artists react things, and they've reacted to the new trailer, and they said basically the old one, when those kind of trailers are first put together, that is literally the only effects that have pretty much been created at that point. So even though they've had to change it, for example, it might not have been so far along the process that they had to change the entire film.
No, I'm sure I read somewhere that the film was done.
Oh.
And they had to go, yeah. I could be wrong, because
they released
I don't have the website to back that up. So.
They released that first trailer, 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
4, maybe 4, something like that.
Well, either way, for the movie to be that early in production, like you were saying, 4 months before it was supposed to be released, because it was supposed to come out in December, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around now. Yeah, because it was going to almost clash with Star Wars, I think.
Yeah.
They also said another interesting thing. For example, they will have had to change every shot. It's not just a case of swapping out the character model because of the proportions of how they work. So if you look at them side by side, the original Freakish one is quite like taller and has more of an elongated face.
He's a long
and
boy.
stuff. Yeah. So, and then if you look at the new one, that's much shorter. It looks like traditional Sonic with a few aspect changes. But if you swapped over the skeleton of the original with the new one, it wouldn't work properly because of how facial skeletons work. So they've had to recreate all them shots from scratch, which is fantastic work to do in the turnaround that they've done.
But have you seen that there's people who are still not happy? They're like, oh, his eyes aren't connected like they are in the cartoon. Who gives a fuck? Like if you look at an old Sonic picture, basically he has one giant eyeball with two pupils.
Yeah, he does. I'm going to be controversial here and say I like this iteration of Sonic. If he was designed this way in the future, I would be happy. I think he looks better than modern Sonic. I really do.
Yeah, I think he looks great.
I'm surprised we haven't seen people bitching about his arm color because his arms are blue and usually his arms are the same color as like his belly. But I haven't seen anyone bitch about that, which I'm surprised about.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, there'll be someone somewhere. At least they've got things pretty much right now. He looks like Sonic. He has gloves. He has Sonic shoes. He's wearing socks like Sonic does. So
yeah, and
it's progress in the right direction.
They gave him, like you said, Mike, actual peach-colored face and belly instead of white fur.
I'm also.
It looks great.
I'm also
the film
happy.
Just looks good now. As well. Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, I'm also happy from the context of the trailer that they've shown that Sonic does exist in Morbius and he's not just in our world. There is a different world where Sonic is from, and I'm pleased they've shown that because I've always questioned why they're doing a live action one. For example, they're doing a Super Mario film, which I'm pretty sure is going to be all animated, which makes perfect sense.
This gives me hope.
Yeah, it's from the guys who made Despicable Me and Minions.
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah,
Illumination
are doing it. Yeah.
What? Ages ago, maybe last year it was announced. It's not. I think it's slated for like 2021.
This gives me hope that somewhere down the road there might be
oh God,
a Mega Man movie.
No.
Have you seen? There was a fan-made Mega Man trailer that was super dark, like a dark, gritty reboot of Mega Man. Man, that would be a cool movie.
Was it called Mega Man: The Quest for Shooting Upwards?
I thought you were going to say Quest for Shooting Up then. I was like, well, that took a dark turn.
I thought I'd add the woods just in case.
Oh, dear. I mean, we went off on a tangent with Sonic, but we should probably say some positive things about Pokemon.
I'm enjoying it. I really like the open wild area because that's kind of what drew me into this initially. I'm a little bummed out that the whole game isn't like that, but I get why it's not. It has a little bit of a Dragon Quest feel to it when you pop out and you have to go to the Motostoke town. Some of the stuff that you can do in the open wild, like you can set up camp, you can play with your Pokemon, cook them some curry. It's a good little time.
Yeah, I was surprised at how quickly you got to the Wildlands as well. I mean, you're in the first town and you get your Pokemon, and then you go and see a professor as you normally do, and then you're almost pretty much instantly out in the Wildlands. And the Wildlands area, it feels like a living, breathing, like space. I remember when the first trailers for this came out, I said on this show that it looks like they've got rid of the Pokemon being in the wild. It looks like it's random encounters again, but it's kind of like a mixture now. So on Let's Go, I always said it felt great because it felt so full of life because you could see the Pokemon and walk up to them and everything. That is still in here, which is great to see. I'm really, really happy about that. But also, whilst you're going through the grass, you'll see random exclamation marks that if you go up to, that is a Pokemon that's hidden in the grass, and you tend to find that the rarer ones are in there. So you can go up there and then randomly find... It could just be one that's wandering around as well. But, I've found that it's ones that I've not seen as often. So it has a mixture of both, which is nice, because you still get that element of surprise going up to those ones where you don't know what it is going to be, and then it shows up. But the Wildlands, like, the weather affects what's there. So I've been out there when it's been hailing, and I've had loads of ice Pokemon come out. I've been there when it's sunny, and like other Pokemon.
But it affects you during battle too.
Yes,
if it's hailing.
Yeah, that's been in place for quite a few generations now.
Oh well, I don't know that.
It's what was I going to say? No, it doesn't matter. Continue, Mike.
Yeah, but there is just all the grass, all the water. Like you'll see like birds flying up in the tree, like bird type Pokemon like flying up in the trees that you can try and like coax to come down so you can battle them, and there's just Pokemon wandering around everywhere, and it feels so alive. It really, really does.
I remember when this was originally announced, Mike, that we were kind of disappointed that it wasn't all like that. I remember you distinctly saying when you saw the trailer that you were disappointed that it wasn't all this open world kind of thing. But I wonder if this is a test, basically them floating the idea to see how people react to it, and if they'll
maybe. I mean, I'm glad I got it at launch. I haven't had a Pokemon game at launch apart from Let's Go. I haven't had a Pokemon game at launch since the original Gold and Silver. I'm really glad I've picked this up. I was a bit worried that I might be a little bit burnt out on Pokemon because I only finished Let's Go recently. But this, honestly, it feels very, very fresh. It feels very streamlined in all of its processes compared to normal. It looks great as well. I remember I was a bit down on how it looked when the trailers first came out. I even said it on here that, I didn't think it was that much of a step up. But honestly, it looks beautiful. It really does. The new Pokemon, like, I've not found any that I dislike so far. I mean, sometimes you see some and you're like, what the fuck is that? they're all real nice designs so far. They really are. My constant battle with new Pokemon games is always, I should be trying the new Pokemon, and I sometimes fall into habits of using the older guys. Like, I got, was it Yamper, the dog? Yamper? Like, he was the first electric type I got, and then I found that NPC that gave me the Pikachu for my save date, and I was like, well, of course I'm going to fucking use Pikachu.
Of course. Goodbye, Yamper. Get in that box.
Yeah, I'm not some kind of chump.
You're right, though. Some of the new ones do look fucking weird. What was the one right before this? It wasn't just Sun and Moon, was it? Has there been another generation since Sun and Moon?
No, Sun and Moon, and then Let's Go.
So when Diggerbee came up, what is he from the new generation, or is he older?
Diggerbee? No, I think it's a new one.
He's like a giant mole with huge arms with fingers at the end of it. He's one of those characters that came out like, what the fuck is this thing?
It's a mole. Has anybody found the town of Het yet, where you can catch a Pokemon which is two sheep attached together and it's called Kangaroo?
Diggersby. Yeah, no, it is.
Is he new?
It is a new one. Yeah.
He sounds like he'd have an English name. Diggersby.
Yeah.
Throw a mud ball at you.
My favourite thing I saw in the trailers in the build-up to this is Sirfetch'd. I think he looks great. It's just such a good evolution of a relatively crap Pokemon.
What's his evolution? Or what's he evolved from?
Farfetch'd.
I don't know what that is.
It's a little bird which holds a leek for no reason.
Oh, no, Diggersby's from X and Y originally.
Oh.
But the best thing about Sirfetch'd, Eric, is he has a leek as a sword. It's just brilliant. And he's like this old English knight, and it's just such a good Pokemon.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. So, I don't think
the online features, like, I haven't delved too deep into it, but there's a thing where you can just randomly put up a Pokemon to trade, and someone else can just randomly put one, and you just get like a secret trade and things like that. I've actually managed to get there's a new squirrel Pokemon that I can't remember the name of just now that I was going to bother to evolve myself.
Choodle.
Huh?
It's Choodle, isn't it?
No, that's the turtle.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I was going to keep one on my team to evolve it, so it went on my Pokedex, but I randomly did a swap and a secret trade and managed to get its evolved version, so I don't have to fuck around doing that now. But on the actual wildlands, there's these sort of purple dens that you go up to. And you go up to those, and there's a Dynamaxed Pokemon there, which is basically a giant, really powerful version of the Pokemon. And you and 3 other people online, or you can use 4 or 3 computer characters, have to battle it. And there's conditions, so you have to beat it within a certain amount of turns, or you can't have the Pokemon can only faint a certain amount of times and things like that. And the raid battles, basically. And I've done a few of those already, and they're quite fun. Only done it with computer NPCs, but they're good fun as well, because you then catch the Pokemon at the end. And I think it's supposed to be a bit more of a powerful one. And that's where I used my Dynamaxed Pikachu, which was great.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say before. I read in a review that for the first time with the Wildlands area, Pokemon can be over-leveled compared to you.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. I ran into an Onix that was 33 and I was level 9.
That's an interesting step away from the tradition, because Pokemon, as Mike said, is a game traditionally made for kids, so it is quite a simple game to get through. You can usually blitz through the end with the Elite Four pretty easily without any difficulty, I would imagine. So that's interesting to have that aspect where you could potentially fail a battle.
Yeah, well, the first one I went into, I think maybe it's supposed to be, but the first one I bumped into was an Onyx as well, and it wouldn't let me catch it. It tells you when you first go into the battle, it says, "Oh, this seems like a extremely strong Onyx," and it wouldn't let me catch it because I was like, I managed to beat it.
Oh God, I got
but
obliterated.
It wouldn't let me catch it. It said, it said something like, "Oh, it's not letting its guard down," and I did look into it, and basically what it is with these strong Pokemon is as you progress through the gyms and you get the gym badges, each gym badge you get enables you to then be able to catch these ones that are freakishly strong.
Oh, so basically like the old ones, for example, with the trades. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why I couldn't catch it, which is a shame because I had it down to like fucking tiny little red health.
Yeah, that's the it's so good when you get a Pokemon down to that low of health and you need to catch them. It's when you get up to the like legendary ones where you need to have them like poisoned or paralyzed or something like that, and then they might suddenly die of poison, and you have to catch them in a certain amount of turns. That's when it gets pretty crazy.
But yeah, honestly, for the first, I mean, granted, I skipped X and Y and I skipped Sun and Moon mainly because I didn't have a 3DS at the time, but it feels very, very refreshed.
Yeah.
Like for the first time in a long time, I haven't started it and felt like, oh, here we go, another fucking Pokemon game. Even though I enjoy it, but you still have that kind of sense of I'm going to be doing the same thing again.
Yeah, they haven't really progressed much over the years, have they? It's kind of
but honestly, seeing how great it looks, getting into that Wildlands area so quickly, like I think I will be sticking this out. I've unfortunately put Luigi's Mansion 3 to the wayside, which is a shame.
That's a shame.
That. But I am really enjoying it.
I really think you need to finish Luigi's Mansion before Game of the Year show. Really do. It's not long. We'll
see. Because I've got Resident Evil 4 to play on my Switch as well. So, yeah. But yeah, that's Pokemon. I recommend anyone who's a Pokemon fan and you're on the fence, I say get it.
I haven't picked it up yet. I have every intention of doing so at some point, but just with their Death Stranding being out, I kind of just went, nah, not yet.
Death Stranding. Let's talk.
Yeah, see, I set that one up. You knocked it out
Segue,
the park, my friend. Yes.
Oh, I am gutted that Tom is not here to talk about this.
Oh, Tom is going to be absolutely so sad.
But I told him that we would share his opinion on it, and I was really shocked when Tom said that this was shit and he'd already traded it in.
Me too.
Yeah. He's just said he couldn't stand it. He's actually selling all of his Kojima games.
He popped it in the PlayStation. He first cutscene booted up. He went, nope, not for me.
This is
strip
a
out the store.
pile of garbage. He pulled a Destiny 2 on it.
1 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. Not Kojima. Should have been called Metal Gear 5.
Eric, I don't know what the hell Tom's talking about because this game, this game.
I know that last show I was a little on the fence about it. I was straddling that fence pretty hard, but I am firmly on the other side.
Me too. Mike, we need to, and everyone else, we kind of need to steer clear of spoilers as much as we can with this game. But
yeah, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I feel so in the build up to its release, and I listened back to you guys talking about it on the last show, which I missed, where you were talking about how all the different reviews are basically saying it's a walking simulator, and the reviews are incredibly polarizing. So I think it got 6.8 from IGN, but others have been given a 10 out of 10, 9s out of 10, that kind of thing. But as Eric said, he was straddling the fence, but he came over to the other side because, yes, in essence, this game could be classed as a walking simulator, but I personally can't stand walking simulators. I think they're so dull. But this game, mechanically, with its story and how it throws new things at you constantly, and the way that you interact with other players, have won me over. And I think this is an absolute masterpiece. I really do. I'm probably not even halfway through it yet, but I think it is utterly compelling.
I would agree. I read a ton of reviews about this, and I don't think I read a single one of them that did it any justice.
It's a really difficult game to put into words.
It absolutely is.
Until you sit down and actually experience it for yourself and realize how much there is in how it works and all the different systems you can use.
I think it does. I think it does need to be said, though, that going into it, you do have to have a little bit of an understanding and appreciation for Kojima and his style of storytelling. Because if you're the type of person who you like to know exactly what's going on and where the story is headed, game's not for you. It is not for you, because you are drip-fed information at such, I don't want to say slow rate, but a slower pace than any other story-driven game. But I remember, I would say the first hour and a half is pretty story-heavy. Really story-heavy. A lot of cutscenes.
It's traditional Kojima with all the cutscenes and lengthy cutscenes and bullshit that makes no sense. But
I remember sitting on the couch and getting to the end of this huge piece of exposition and just kind of stepping back and going, I don't remember the last time I have watched a cutscene for a video game that intently. Typically, I'm watching it, but like if my phone pops off, I'll pick it up and look at it and like half pay attention to the story. I was 100% engrossed in absolutely everything that was happening: the setup, the execution, the delivery, the voice acting.
But it's the facial capture as well. It's incredibly lifelike, and the world itself is visually stunning as well. I mean, you're playing on PS4 Pro, Eric, but I'm playing on vanilla PS4, and even on that, it looks absolutely great.
You throw HDR 4K on there, and it's gorgeous. The world itself is actually the main character of the game, just in how you interact with it. And I think the problem with reading any of the reviews about it is that I think they were prohibited from talking about anything after Chapter 3. And Dan, you mentioned that I'm 20 hours into it. I just hit Chapter 4? Yeah.
I think I'm on 6 or 7.
I hit the one called Mama. And I think that's 5, Chapter 5.
Yeah,
so,
that's 5, yeah.
I'm still getting new stuff 20 hours into the game.
So am I. It's mad. I was playing it last night for hours, and I was still getting new things. I got a new thing, and I was like, but they are things that are genuinely interesting that you want. There are a lot of games out there where you get drip-fed skills. And I don't know if this is true for anybody else, but for me, a lot of skill trees have things that I don't want.
Well, and the thing about skill trees that pisses me off is usually the stuff that I want is at the very top, and you get that like 2 hours before the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I just got something last night that I remember thinking several hours ago, Jesus, I wish I had the ability to do this. It would make hauling this cargo so much easier. And then boom, 5 hours later, oh, hey, here you go. Now you get to use this. And it completely changes how you play. And I think people who classify this as a walking simulator are doing it a horrible injustice because, yes, the entire gameplay loop is pick up an order, put a bunch of shit on your back, walk it or drive it from here to here. That is the gameplay loop. 100% of the gameplay, you are delivering packages. There is no question about it. However, where the fun really comes in, and this is where Kojima shines, is that, in essence, it's a stealth game. For two reasons. You're trying to avoid the BTs. You're also trying to avoid the mules, but then you have to be very conscious of how much you're carrying, how you stack it, where you put things on. Am I going to need a ladder? Am I going to need a PCC? Am I going to need climbing anchors? You have to plan out what you're going to do. So there is a ton of strategy involved in it. And
there is, but even with that, there's still it's not overwhelming.
No, it's
you know
fun.
What I mean? So it's kind of putting that together and planning, so you can plan a route before you go. So imagine a typical delivery. I'm going from one city to a weigh station somewhere where somebody needs a particular package. You have to, every package has weight. Everything you put on your back, so you can put things on your back, you can strap them to your arms, your hips, etc., and then you can put as much as you want. So everything has physical weight. Everything reacts according to physics. So when you're walking, for example, there are rocks in the ground. You could walk over a rock and Sam, your character, could trip over it. And then you could fall over, which in turn means that you could damage your cargo and it might fall off your back. Or you might be walking through a river, and in certain elements of the river is deeper than the other bit of the river, which is like, I don't think I've ever seen that done in a game before. and you can walk in the shallow bit quite fine, but when you get into a deeper bit, it will struggle. And if you are in there for too long, you'll get swept away by the river and all your cargo comes off. So you've got to plan these things. But to get around this river, for example, you could walk up to the riverbed. You could take a ladder off your back, which you've packed before you left. If you didn't have this already, you wouldn't be able to use it. But if you have the ladder, you can put it down, walk over the river. And it's so cool. But this then ties into the game Kojima has said that it's called a new genre called a strand game, which basically means that everything is connected. So you interact with other players in this game. You never see them, but everybody is playing together. And as people build structures, I don't know how it works, but for example, I might be walking and I might see that somebody has placed a ladder against a cliff, and I can use that ladder. And then I can like it and say, thank you for giving me this ladder. This made getting up this cliff a million times easier. And it's such a cool concept that I've never seen before.
Well, what's really neat about it, too, is so the world itself, everybody is disconnected. You're trying to make it from one end of the country to the other, bringing people back onto this internet. We'll just call it's called the chiral network, but you have to bring them back on so that you can have access to fabricate or 3D print items. They can transfer items back and forth. But in bringing an area back onto the chiral network, then you can see other people's structures on your map. So it helps you plan your route. You can say, oh, there's a ladder there, so I'm going to plan my route to this ladder or to this bridge and then cross over this gorge. But the timefall, the rain, there's a weather system. And as soon as it starts raining, all of the gear in the world starts to deteriorate. Stuff on your back, all of the items that have been laid out, it all begins to deteriorate. So that ladder that was
Even
there...
vehicles.
What's that?
Even vehicles.
Yeah.
As well.
So that ladder that you used to cross the gorge on your way there might not be there on your way back. So it really brings in a little more strategy to it. It's like, all right, I need to carry at least one of everything with me wherever I'm going. And it's such a neat concept to just be able to help other people out and have other people randomly help you out. I've been out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and there's a motorcycle.
That's happened to me as well, and I was really struggling at this point as well, and it just saved me, and I give it all the likes that I could.
Yeah,
because it was so useful.
The way
kind of answered my prayers.
The way I figure that it's worked for being able to see other people's structures and other people being able to see yours is through a particular, not setting, but characteristic called bridge link. And the higher your bridge link, the more structures you're able to see from other people, and the more other people are able to see your structure. And the only way to increase your bridge link is to lay stuff down that people like and use. So somehow I created a highway that everybody uses, and I am just constantly getting a flood of messages on the left side of the screen saying somebody used a road that you rebuilt. Someone used it, and it just keeps going and going and going, and then it'll say 2,300 likes, and I get that probably every 4 or 5 minutes, and it's just insane. So my bridge rate or my bridge link rate is insane compared to, I was talking to Tom about it compared to his, and you get so many other perks from that. So as your bridge link goes up, more people can see your structures. They can give you likes for longer. You have more access to things. So it does behoove you to lay things down to help other people out. And you can you can leave random items in a share locker. So if you have a pair of boots that still has like 50% on it, you can toss them in there, and someone who's stumbling by without any boots can pull those out and use them. It's just really neat how it's interconnected, but it's not a multiplayer game.
Yeah. I saw an interview with Kojima where he said, this is a game about positivity. So you can like things, and it's kind of apes social media, but it doesn't have the negativity. You have no option except to like something. So it's about connectivity.
You can dismantle other people's structures if you want to be a dick. But I think I've only ever done that once just to see what would happen.
The interesting thing is, I remember there was that quote from Kojima, I think it was last year. Someone said to him, it was something along the lines of, what is the game? And he said something like, the game has already begun. And I wonder if this is the kind of thing he was referring to, because I've heard people in the past refer to, social media, like things like Instagram and Twitter, where it's kind of like a video game in a way, because you're racking up points in likes and retweets and things like that. So it's interesting. I wonder if this is typical Kojima having a sort of commentary on something in the real world.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
it definitely 100%. Is, because all of your deliveries go through this overwhelming review stage of how long of a route did you take. So every delivery has a minimum route distance, and then however far you deviate off of that affects how many likes you get for it. So your cargo rate, your delivery rate, and so many other things affect that. And it's ridiculous that everything is revolving around likes, but it is a good social commentary.
It is. It's like I said when we first started talking about it, I've never played anything quite like it. And it's a game I want to go back to constantly. It's incredibly lengthy as well. It takes a long time to get to places. You could trudge across the world for an hour and not be at your destination. It just depends on how many times you've done that journey and what people are using to help you, things like that. But one of the fascinating aspects for me is, so it kind of reminds me of Breath of the Wild, in like you can go pretty much anywhere. You see it, you can climb it, pretty much. And it's just, I just love it. I just think it's great.
I think what's really neat about traversing the world is when you get to a new section, it is very difficult to figure out where to go, plan your route. So your first few deliveries, I would say probably your first 10 to 15 deliveries are very difficult until you start developing that pathway. And then even further down the road, when you build a road that goes over that and it now makes it easier, you sort of appreciate the effort that it took to get to this point. And just because you get a truck to load up with as much shit as you want, that actually makes your route more difficult. Because now you have this gigantic
rocks on the ground.
Yeah, you have this gigantic truck that you need to figure out, how the hell am I going to get this thing through this ravine? And they all run off of batteries. And if you're on the power grid, it doesn't use the batteries. But if you go through the water, it just sucks the batteries dry. If you're outside the chiral network, you cannot build a generator. So you have to sort of plan your route. Like, okay, I might be out of battery at this location, so maybe find a spot that's closer to the chiral network so I can pop a generator back down, recharge my batteries, and kick off.
But at the same time, if you couldn't do that, and you were out in the middle of somewhere where you couldn't build a generator and there wasn't any generators available, you might find that your truck dies. And then you have more cargo in your truck than you could physically carry. So how do you decide what you take? And that cargo that you leave behind might disappear.
Well, it disappears, but it becomes available for other porters to pick up and deliver for you. So as you're walking around the world, you'll see lost cargo. And it's from other people who have been on a journey and either dropped it or died or whatever happened or had to abandon it. And you can pick it up and deliver it for them. You don't deliver it to its actual location, but you just go to the nearest distribution center and go, deliver lost cargo. And it just sets it off to where it needs to be.
But you can deliver it to the actual location and you get more likes.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you look, every one that you pick up will say lost cargo, for example, something not city. And then if you deliver it to that location, you get more likes. But if you deliver it somewhere else, you entrust it to another player. So then it will appear in somebody else's game.
Interesting. Huh.
But this is what's been happening all week, Eric. You've discovered things, Tom's discovered things, I've discovered things, we've told each other about it, and I still feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
The last time I remember having a gaming experience like this, where we're discovering things through conversation as much as we are, was Demon Souls with my uncle 12 years ago, or 10 years ago.
I remember it with Dark Souls with you. Obviously, you'd played it already, but I was brand new to it, and you really helped me with telling me how it works and things like that, and It's a entirely new concept of the game. If you're sitting on the fence, I would just say, just go buy it and try it.
The one thing I will say is that you will spend an exorbitant amount of time doing nothing or feeling like you're doing nothing. You do spend quite a bit of time in menus, managing your cargo, but the game itself is...
That's what auto-arrange cargo is for, son.
But the game itself is peaceful. There is, I'm going to be very careful with how I word this because I don't want to spoil it. But there is a section at the very beginning when you first pop out into the world and that first song kicks on. And what happens in that moment, and it is just emblazoned in my mind as this is a powerful moment in gaming. There are very few memories like that with games where, like, I remember exactly how I felt during that scene. Like, you first pop into Kakariko Village in Zelda, things like that. I think this moment is going to go down as one of those for me. The soundtrack that Kojima has curated for this game is exceptional at really capturing the feel of this world. And the songs aren't they're not there all the time. They pop in very infrequently. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, this is because I'm still, I said on the last show, I've never been so like swaying both ways of whether I want a game or not. This is the first time listening to somebody talk about it, and obviously it helps that I know you guys and you're my friends. This is the first time that shut up. This is the first time that like I've actually really, really just kind of want to give it a go now.
Did you have to?
Like the first time I've kind of hit 100%. Yes, I want to play this.
Yeah. We're good reviewers. We're good reviewers.
We're influencers.
The only downside is I want to, because I've said before, I'm in the middle of Final Fantasy 15 at the moment. I want to get that finished before I get into
dismiss
another
that
big
bollocks.
game.
Get this shit instead.
And the only other thing that kind of would be, I think, a downside of this game is Tom mentioned that Kat finds it a very, very boring game to be in the room whilst he's playing.
Christy loves it.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So,
I mean,
Crystal
I'm very fortunate.
Shockingly indifferent.
Does she even know what it is?
No.
I mean, I'm very fortunate.
I tried to explain it to her. She's like, nope, straight over there.
I'm very fortunate that I fell in love with and married someone who enjoys watching me play games. Because if I was with somebody who didn't, that would make my hobby very, very difficult. But when Hazel is in the room with me, I am very aware of whether she's finding what I'm playing entertaining or not. And if she's not finding it, if there's a game that she doesn't find entertaining, if she's in the room while I'm playing, I'll probably play something else that she does. And that, I think, Death Stranding doesn't sound like something that would keep her.
See, and maybe that's a little
at the same time.
Maybe that's different in how Christy watches me play games versus how Hazel watches you. Christy she'll be in the room, she'll be doing something else, but she'll also kind of be paying attention. She has no fucking clue what's going on. Like, for her, the story isn't what she's there for. It's more spending time together, the experience of the game. There are some games where she'll sit down like Plague Tale and just watch through with me and be invested in it. There are other games where she just doesn't give a shit. Like when I play Call of Duty, she doesn't care about playing that. But this game, I asked her about it last night. She's like, yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's peaceful. It's relaxing.
Interesting.
So
I'm probably going to give it a go. I might ask for it for Christmas, maybe.
It's one of those where I've had several nights in the past week where I've had to physically force myself to stop.
Same.
Because like I just one more delivery or just one more run to get some more cargo to rebuild this road.
Yeah. Because you might, for example, with that new delivery, then you get something brand new to play with.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, another hour's gone by.
Well, and I'm always really cautious. I know you're further ahead than I am, but I'm quite a bit further ahead than Tom. So I'm really careful with talking about new items that I get because I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah. There are certain ones which are so game changing that you don't want to talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain ones that everybody knows about, like
if the three of you want to create like a separate WhatsApp chat just to talk about Death Stranding while spoiling it for me, I won't be offended,
But we can't because Tom's further behind than me and Eric, for example, and Eric's further behind me. So if I told him what I just found, there was one thing I didn't mind spoiling because it was in all the trailers and they'd revealed that ahead of time. But I won't say what it is in case anybody doesn't know about it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You got it the other day, remember?
Is that the one where Mike yelled at me?
You said it was a bad cameo.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Yeah, that was
a
really
really
on TV. It was
cheesy cameo. I don't know,
But
it's unique. I'm really glad that I gave it a shot.
Like Mike said, I feel that the reviews did not do this justice.
Mike said that? I think I said it.
I think we've all kind of said it.
Yeah.
The interesting, I mean, there's something I brought up the other day is this game it sounds like it's very much a Marmite game. You either love it or you hate it. And I think a lot of the review outlets that did it, that affected what they gave it. I mean, for example, IGN, the guy who they got to review it, I thought they freelanced it, but it wasn't. It was some guy from IGN Australia who reviewed it. But, you know, he reviewed it, he didn't like it, so he gave it a bad score. But if, you know, someone else from IGN who is loving it had reviewed it, it probably would have got like the 9 and the 10. And because it's so divisive, you know, this is why, I mean, I banged on for a few minutes on the last episode without even playing Death Stranding. You know, if you're going to read the reviews of Death Stranding, like, read a few, like, of differing opinions from people who like different games, or someone who, you know, what they like in gaming, but in terms of playing games, is similar to yours. Yeah, and I think that still stands. Even now that I know that the game is out and I've heard what you guys have thought and things like that, I think that I still really, really stand by my little rant I had.
Even still, it's such a difficult game to describe.
It is, yeah. There's a lot to it. The story, I mean, I understand everything that's going on and it makes sense in the context of the world, but if you came into it blind, you would be.
I will say though that if you're
quite overwhelming.
If you're looking for levels of action on par with Metal Gear, you're not going to get it. It is not an action-heavy game.
But Metal Gear had those quiet moments as well. I mean, it was about shooting people and things like that, but it had the stealth sections, you could say, with the quiet moments of MGS.
Yeah.
Where you take out a few guards, but there's a lot of sneaking around, being very methodical, things like that. That's what kind of Kojima's known for. And I think he's done that
boss in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ladders in this game that don't play Snake Eater.
No, I'm still in a dream.
God, I can't wait for the MGS3 episode.
Snake Eater.
It's just going to all be that. But, you know, Mike said, probably a Marmite game. Yeah, they love it, you hate it. You hate it, that's fair enough. But again, it harkens back to this thing of complaining about something because you don't like it. You're allowed to not like things. It's how the world works. So, but for me, right now, it's a game which is probably, if I was to score it, would be straddling between high 9s and maybe even a 10.
I think this is one of those games that changes things, and they come along so infrequently that people don't really know how to interpret it when it happens because it's so different.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a game that people copy. For example, Dark Souls, lots of clones.
Yeah.
Skyrim, a lot of games are inspired by Skyrim, etc.
Maybe I'll feel a little differently when I get to the end, depending on how long it is. Looking at how long it's taken most reviewers, they say anywhere from 50 to 80. Some people have spent 100 plus hours, and looking at it and going, man, I'm already at 20 hours. Holy shit, I could do this, 5 more times.
Yeah, I know one of the shortest people who finished it, shortest amount of time I've heard. I think Greg Miller, he completely golden pathed it. He didn't do any side quests or anything. It took him about 37, I think he said.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so...
But that's missing out on a massive portion of the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot to discover off the beaten path.
But I will say, don't go try to explore new towns before you're given an order to go there. You will completely waste your time.
Peterson, pro tip.
Usually in RPGs, like, yeah, let's go off the beaten path, find a new town, sweet, new gear. Nope. If you do not have an order to go there, they will tell you to fuck right off.
Do you know what we didn't talk about, Eric? The terrain mapping. I think that is such a good tool.
Yes. You guys didn't know in the map that if you press start when you're on the menu, you can tilt your controller and see the topography of the map.
No, I didn't know that. I only used it for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
But when you're out and about, Mike, you have a thing called an Odradek scanner, which is the thing on his arm you've seen in the trailers.
The little
goes, yes, does this
thing.
But that thing, if you press R1 at any point, maps the terrain immediately around you, as well as revealing any items which have been lost by other porters. So it will show you, for example, that the ground in front of you is fine, where it's blue, and then if it's got any slight inclines like yellow, and then if it's red, it means it's unclimbable. And the same applies to rivers and things like that. So you can map out where you want to go before you go and say, right, that route's better than that route, so I'll go that way.
But no, I think you guys might have sold me on it. I won't get it straight away. I'm going to wait a little bit, but I think you've sold me on it.
I'm giving it a hard.
I'm hoping that I can avoid spoilers. That's my main thing.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah. Oh no, not from you guys. I mean, just generally on the internet. You know what it's like on the internet. Some people, like, for some reason, makes them feel like they've got a big dick if they can just spoil things for people.
Yeah. If there's one thing to ignore, if there's one thing to ignore from this entire conversation, it's Tom Reagan, who said it was shit and traded it in. What a doofus!
Yeah, what an idiot!
I can't believe he did that.
Yeah. He was really looking forward to it too.
He actually just took it outside and threw it in his lake. That's what he did.
He put it in the Kingdom Hearts case and popped Kingdom Hearts back in.
Oh, fucking hell, Tom and Kingdom Hearts. Jeez. I've never known him hate a game so much.
Well.
Until now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
This makes it look like he quite enjoyed Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. He really did. Oh, dear.
Yeah. But
so guys, we are 2 days away from technically a new... Well, no, it's not technically. I was going to say like technically a new games console, but a new game platform being released. What a shit show that has been this past week.
Excuse me while I go avoid my bowels. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse us. Give us all of your money, and we will give you 1/3 of what you were promised for that, and you may not ever get the rest.
Yeah. Well, Peter Molyneux's in charge. So we're talking about Stadia. The guy, everyone who paid for their Founders Edition will be getting it on Tuesday.
Maybe.
And,
maybe.
Let's. Well, yeah. It would first come first serve on the old pre-orders, so you might not even get it day one. And this past week, literally the week before before it comes out, and bear in mind, this is not a beta. This is what they said is the actual release of Stadia. They basically gave a full list through just an AMA, I think it was on Reddit, of all the shit that is not coming to it anymore.
Anymore or now?
Well, not anymore. Sorry. Well, until next year.
Basically, you get a USB stick to plug into your telly, but it doesn't do anything. That's it.
What a fucking wreck.
I can't believe... I don't understand Stadia. I think I said this in the chat on the Factory Seal group earlier this week. I just don't get it. Who is it for? What is it? What gap in the market is it filling? It doesn't deliver on its promises. The games on offer are old, and most people have played them already. It's just
this is the thing. Like, let's talk about the game selection for a moment. So it's going to release with 12 games. Those games are... Right. Those games are Assassin's Creed Odyssey,
which is
Destiny
a good game,
2,
but
Guilt, which is a platform exclusive, admittedly, Just Dance 2020, Kine, which I think is a platform exclusive, don't quote me on that, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of Tomb Raider, Thumper, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
So, of those games, I would say 80% of them are available for pennies.
Yeah,
on other
and also
consoles.
Bear this in mind, and I think Eric's kind of making this point, they're not a Netflix selection. You have to buy these games.
At full price.
I don't think they've released the pricing structure for it, but you have to...
Why would you a week before it releases?
Well, yeah, true. But these people who's got these Founders Editions, I mean, I will admit, they're getting Destiny 2 for free. Oh, I mean, big whoop. But, they are getting Destiny 2 for free.
Sold!
But the rest of them, they have to buy. And there's another list of games that they say will be there by the end of 2019, which has things like Borderlands 3 and Darksiders Genesis and Final Fantasy 15 and a few other bits. But again, like, it's not anything that's particularly blowing my skirt up.
You have a skirt
up? And again, these games have been available for years. Why would you want them on Steam?
The original Tomb Raider was a PS3, Xbox 360 game.
If that's any more than $20, that's a ripoff.
Yeah.
For me, it comes down with Google as well. Google have they are such a big monopoly in the world we live in. They have such a reputation of delivering new things and then not supporting them or just gradually phasing them out and hoping everybody forgets about it. So I could see the exact same thing happening with this. I don't think it's going to take off. I mean, I've been wrong before about like VR and things like that, but in this case, it feels like there's no hype whatsoever. Nobody is interested really, and it's just launching with it. It comes down to this huge company giving all these promises when it was first announced to hype it up, things like that, and then literally, like Mike said, a week before this is due to come out, they've just said, right, all this shit is missing.
Yeah, well, to kind of discuss the things that are missing, Stream Connect's state share and crowd play isn't going to be there at launch. Their achievement system isn't going to be there at launch. There are no trophies. One of the big selling points of this was that you could use Chromecast Ultras to play the games. At launch, only the Chromecast Ultras that come in the Founders Packs will
the new ones won't
do it, so you can't use the ones that you already have if you have them. The family sharing of the games aren't there, so if you buy the games on one account, you can't share them with your family. The buddy passes that they were selling with the Founders Packs, so it was like a free give a friend a 3-month Stadia subscription. They don't work straight away. They're going to be working in a few weeks. The Stadia controller, like I said, it's first come, first serve, so some people aren't getting them straight away. But then the Stadia controller, as it stands, is only going to at launch only going to work wirelessly with the Chromecast. It won't work wirelessly with like your phone and things like that.
So the whole point of it being on anything isn't in place.
Yeah, and here's my question that I've not heard anyone really bring up. So Stadia, I've said before, like you don't have to have a subscription. You can just buy the games a la carte. You'd make an account, buy the games a la carte as you were. The subscription gets you, I think it gets you some discounts on games. I think you do get some free ones when it's all working properly, obviously. But the big thing with the subscription is you get 5.1 surround sound and you get 4K. Neither of these two things are at launch. The 4K and the 5.1 surround sound.
So your subscription gets you dick all.
But the guys who got the Founders Edition get 3 months worth of subscription. What are they getting for that? Like, what is the point of them having a subscription if the 4K and the 5.1 surround sound isn't there? Like, seriously. Like, Google, talk to Xbox about the Xbox One, and they will tell you how a shitty launch can fuck you over. You only get to launch once, and this is a mess.
It is, and I feel the communication is bad. Like, for example, we don't know how much the games are going to cost. We don't know what you get in this subscription going forward. I just don't understand the appeal, and I don't think a lot of people understand the appeal.
I think if they took it a route like a Netflix subscription or even what Game Pass does and say, okay, $20 a month, and you have access to this massive library of games to play.
Yeah. I mean, I said when they first announced it, what the structure of it was going to be like, I remember saying on the show that this is wrong. This is not how they need to be marketing it. Now, I'm big on the idea of the streaming future. Like, I play a lot of games outside the house.
Not me.
It's going to be great for me if and when it works. But I just don't know what Google's doing with this. And I think a lot of pre-orders actually got cancelled as well when all this came out. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But
I think they should. I think they should be. People should call them out on the bullshit and cancel those pre-orders. Yeah. Because why buy something when the promise of what you've bought it for is not being delivered on?
And the best thing about this is, so this all kind of came out last week. Thursday, I think it was last week, Microsoft had their XO 2019 conference where they announced a load of stuff for Game Pass and some new games and things like that. During that conference, now bear in mind that xCloud is still in beta. It's still completely in beta, which I think, to be honest, right, if Google had said that Stadia was in beta for a little while, I think it would have helped them. It's early access, it's beta, but the fact that they said this is the launch, I think that's what's screwing them over with this. So xCloud currently in beta, only on Android devices, but they announced at XO that, one, there's going to be 50 games available on xCloud beta soon, or immediately, I can't remember which. It's coming to PC beta next year, where you can use an Xbox controller, a DualShock 4, or a Razer controller on your PC. And then at some point next year as well, any digital game that you've already bought on your Xbox, you'll be able to play on your xCloud. And also next year, Game Pass integration is coming to xCloud. They are doing it right, in my opinion.
Yeah, compared to Google, they're going to just blow them out of the water. And I think in a year, we'll see Stadia have been a big failure.
I don't ever want to see anything like this completely fail, but I also don't want to see this be a commercial success, because then everybody's going to go, oh, this is the path forward, and I can't get behind an all-streaming future. I just can't do it.
Me either. I prefer the physical me. It's very rare. Mike, it's good for you, obviously, with being out in the truck, and then you end up waiting around for people to unload your truck and things, and you can get in a bit of gaming and stuff like that. But for me, the bulk of my handheld game would be, for example, when I was traveling on holiday and I would take my Switch with me. That's all I need it for. The bulk of my gameplay is me sitting down in front of the TV. And, for example, if I was playing Death Stranding, I wouldn't want to not play it on a TV, because I feel like I would be doing it an injustice to play it on a phone.
Yeah. Well, and I think my rationale for it is, I used to buy a ton of movies, and then Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime came out, and they have a large majority. I don't buy movies all that much anymore, not even close to how often I used to. So Netflix and Hulu and Amazon having a subscription to just view that stuff, in my brain, I don't see that as I'm buying those movies. I'm buying the right to watch those movies. But how Stadia is doing it, where you pay a subscription to then have the right to purchase those games, okay, I gave you money for that. Down the road, when you disappear, what happened to my money? Where's my product for that?
Yeah,
Game
there's no
Pass.
physical medium, is there? So this is the thing with buying digital. I think we've said this time and time again. You don't physically have anything. You don't own it. They could revoke that license at any point. I'm sure if you read the terms and conditions of all these different things, it will say that somewhere.
Yeah, which is why I'm fine with Game Pass. I'm giving you $10 a month for the right to play these games. I don't own these games. But if I give you $60 to buy a game, I want to be able to play that game from now until the end of time.
He wants to be able to put them on his shelf.
Give me a digital
That's
shelf. And a counter with how many times I've opened it so it can say 0.
I mean, the thing to think about here as well, I mean, like I said, I'm quite keen on the streaming future, as long as it works. Like, if it works, that's the main thing. My concern is, because like I said, I think Stadia is going to fuck it up, and I think Xbox are going to be the guys to get it right. I really do. Obviously, PlayStation are going to get involved as well. I mean, they kind of already are with PS Now, and even though they don't really sing it from the rooftops, there's more subscribers to PS Now than there is Game Pass.
Huh. Really?
And they're making a lot of money. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's actually quite successful. PS Now. It's just not really flaunted very much.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But I think Xbox is going to be the ones to get it right, like I just said. But my issue is, if Stadia come out and they fuck this up so badly, is this then going to go... People are just going to go, nah, doesn't work. And then PS Now and PS Now and xCloud are going to end up failing as well, despite the fact that might end up being a good service, because people are going to be so burnt by the Stadia experience.
I suppose it depends if you buy it or not.
I guess.
Well, we'll just have to see. I mean, if you've bought an Xbox, and for example that has xCloud on it, you might dabble in it. But if the thing that they have to sell it to is people who haven't bought an Xbox, so the whole point of xCloud is you can play Xbox games anywhere without an Xbox. So that's the kind of people they want to sell it to, and then that opens up a whole can of worms of, do we really need consoles anymore if they can do this? So, but again, that comes back to the physical medium thing, where me and Eric, for example, would prefer to have an actual console where we can pop a disc in and play a game.
Yep. I want that disc sitting on my shelf getting disc rot. It's going to take a long time for me to get on board with a full digital streaming future. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I know. Get off your lawn and all that jazz.
Get off my digital lawn. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm morbidly curious about wanting to try it, just to see if it's able to even do half of what they say it's able to do.
Well, didn't you say you were going to sign up for that xCloud beta?
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. But I suppose if it's coming to PC next year, then that'll be a much easier thing to try and...
Yeah, and I don't have many... I didn't have an Android device that was supported, so...
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully that'll be early next year, and because I'll definitely sign up for that beta if it's coming to PC.
Yeah.
Give it a little whirl.
A whirl.
Yeah, especially if, like, there's going to be like 50 games. Well, 50. It'll be 50 plus by then, more likely, if that you can have a go on.
Game Pass just had a massive announcement with a bunch of new shit coming.
Yeah, like all the Final Fantasies from 7 through to 15.
And Remnant from the Ashes. I was ready to pull the trigger on that. Free!
Yeah. I'm not particularly interested, but Rage 2, like, that's going on there.
Yeah.
And Game Pass is fucking killing it, man. Just such an amazing service. Like, if you've got an Xbox or a PC, because it's on PC as well now, like, you'd be stupid not to use it.
$10
unless you are very much.
It's like
unless you are very much. I don't like digital, but
yeah, but for the cost of 2 coffees, gaming for a month.
Yeah, but that's 2 meals for you, Eric.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's your coffee, sir, and here is your stress.
Enjoy. Done. It's my diet.
Brilliant.
A hearty diet of coffee and stress.
But yeah, like you said, Eric, I don't want Stadia to fail, but I think they've fucked up this launch completely.
I want it to fail because I don't want this to be the future.
Yeah,
that makes me sad.
They have screwed up the launch for me because I didn't even know what was happening. So, yes, I am a bit dense, but come on, I wouldn't know. I know most things about the gaming world when it's happening. So, yeah, I don't like it. I'm with Eric. I probably hope it fails because I think they're taking people's money and not delivering on the promises they said.
Yeah, I mean, right. Going back to the game collection a second, right? I think the people who have bought these Founders Editions, they are people who are into gaming. They're not just casual fans. I'm painting with a broad brush there, but they're not casual fans. And these games, they're probably played.
Yeah.
Possibly more than once. Who knows? So they're getting these Founders Editions. They're getting access to Stadia. But then what are they going to do with it? I mean, unless they're a massive Destiny fan and they're now happy that they can take Destiny anywhere they want to go, which is, probably great if you're a Destiny fan. But it would be like just, it's the equivalent of buying a console and then having all these old games that you've played and don't want to play again. Like, you're just not going to do anything with it. Like, you're probably going to stick it on for 10 minutes to see if it works, and they go, oh, that works.
Like the
right,
NES
I'll play
Mini,
Death
the
Stranding
Super
instead.
Nintendo Mini, the Genesis Mini, the PlayStation Mini.
Yeah. I barely played my classic consoles, but like I gave them had an afternoon on them, and then they're kind of decoration next to my soundbar now, if I'm honest. But
it's a good expense.
Yeah, I mean that's
so.
But
if you're thinking about getting Stadia, basically just take your dollary dues, wipe them straight along your bum crack after you've had a shite, flush them down the netty because you may as well because that's
such a way with words, Daniel.
Yeah.
Such a way with words.
I've been told that a lot throughout my life. If you're not familiar with your Geordie speak, netty is slang for toilet.
I think we could piece that together.
I've never heard that one before. It's a new one to me, that.
Guys, should we get on to our game of the week?
I want to say no because I'm really dreading this.
As you should. But before we get to that, we do need to throw up our disclaimer because I predict some negative feedback. Well, not even negative feedback, but possibly just a couple bad reviews.
This show getting negative feedback?
So
we've had quite a lot of positive.
Yeah. I think what needs to be
we're
said...
still on 4 stars.
I think it needs to be said again that our definition of retro always has been 10 years and older. So every year, more games enter the library for us to play for the show.
Could argue every day, I guess.
Yeah, I guess every single day. But our game of the week came out in August of 2009. And if that makes you feel old, it probably should.
It does.
So it's just eligible. Just.
Yeah,
What's going on? Where's Eric gone?
He's either fainted or he's adjusting his microphone.
Oh. You okay?
I'm fine.
Oh, okay.
You're
It's
right.
disappeared.
You all right?
So yeah, this game, I think Dan chose it because you got excited when you realised.
Why are you dreading this, Dan?
Well, because it's a long-running thing, isn't it, really? And you are just going to be obnoxious with it, and I can't be bothered. I've been playing it this week, and I was like, oh, God, he's going to be insufferable.
That's right. He's talking about Squareman Arkham Asylum.
Squareman.
Squareman. Squareman.
Squareman and Triangle.
Yeah.
God, please don't make this a thing.
The useless sidekick. But Squareman, when do I get to do anything? Shut up, you're not needed.
You've only got 3 sides.
I got 4 and better.
Yes. So this week we played Batman Arkham Asylum. Not Squareman. Batman.
Not Square
Not ManBat. Before you start saying ManBat.
It's ManBat. So I conditioned Ellie. She's like, what are we playing? I'm like, we're playing ManBat. She's like, Dad, it's Batman. I'm like, no, this one's ManBat. She's like, Dad, it says Batman right there. I can sound it out. It's Batman. Batman. I'm like, yeah, but honey, you got to understand sometimes in the artistic world, things are a little different. And this one's ManBat. So now...
You shouldn't be a parent.
For the past 2 weeks, we get home from school. She's like, Dad, can you play ManBat? I'm like, yes.
But Eric, here's the issue with that. There is a character in Batman lore called ManBat.
Oh,
so you're just going to confuse the poor girl.
Oh, no. I mean, arguably, this isn't a game a kid should have been watching, but she likes superheroes and Batman, and anytime that I justified it in that he doesn't kill anyone.
Oh, yeah, he just beats the shit out of them.
He's just putting them to sleep, honey. They were the bad guys, and they needed to take a nap.
Just leaves them with life-changing injuries. It's fine.
A foot to the jaw. You're fine.
Oh, what? Your leg snapped in 4 places? Oh, you'd be all right.
Oh, yeah, I just checked. This is rated T for teen.
Teen.
Or a 16 in the UK.
Not T for triangle. Because it's needed in the game.
So Daniel, what's the skinny on Arkham Asylum?
Give it to me.
It's a game about ManBat, and you progress through pressing square until you beat up all the bad guys. That's basically it, really.
That is a great synopsis. Is 100% all I did. So
I don't believe you for a second.
No, listen. So because I knew this was going to be a topic of conversation, I did my best to count how many times I pressed square, how many times I pressed X, how many times I pressed circle, and how many times I pressed triangle. So square came in.
Put another telly on the square chart.
Square. No, this is serious. Square came in somewhere around like the 12 to 13,000 mark.
I mean, I call bullshit.
Triangle.
That you were counting them.
Well, so hold on. X came in probably, right around the 6 to 7,000. 8 came in at about, circle came in probably at about 12, and triangle came in at 0.
I don't believe you.
Didn't press it once.
I don't believe
I hate you so much.
I forced my way through. So I loaded this game up. I don't remember why I bought this a long time ago. I don't know.
Because it's good?
No, definitely not. No, I'm just kidding. But for some reason, I decided to play it on hard when I first played through it. And I had like 44% completion on hard. So maybe that affected my...
Oh, because you haven't got the counter icon, so you never realised that you could counter things. Got you. That's the problem, Mike. We've solved it. We've cracked it. He's an idiot.
Oh, God.
But the fact that I made
That
it
explains so much.
halfway through the game using just Square, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Don't get me wrong, my friend. I admire your persistence, but I do not admire how freaking stupid you are sometimes.
Sometimes you just got to lean into a joke. No, I used the counter system in this quite extensively. I knew how to play it.
Hooray!
Very, very good. Well done. That's the first time
Eric
for
and knowing
everything.
how to play something shocking.
And I will give you a spoiler. I rather enjoyed my time with this. It was quite fun. I had a good time. I do have a few complaints with it, but as a whole, it was quite enjoyable.
It was quite good.
It is a truly excellent game. I have a big Batman boner, but even so, it is a well put together piece of video game media.
They could have gotten a better voice actor for ManBat, but
Whoa. Son, that is Kevin Conroy, my friend. Who? Probably the best Batman ever. Who? Kevin Conroy.
He's the voice of Batman and Bruce Wayne in the 90s animated series. He is the voice of Batman.
Well, he did a
So
shit
don't you
job
be
in
giving me any of
this.
that rubbish.
He definitely could have done better.
What, did you want Christian Bale to come in and go?
No, Ben Affleck. They could have gotten him. I mean, you stack this wooden character up against the Joker.
Where's my PS4 controller so I can press square? Mike, when I press square, you punch him, all right?
All right, okay.
No, so the Joker is done by Mark Hamill, and he steals the show. You stack anybody up next to that, and they're going to sound wooden. But Batman in this was so stale.
I respectfully disagree. I feel like
That's
they are
just
the perfect.
what he
I
is.
feel like the perfect counter to each other.
Oracle, where the fuck am I going next?
I missed that. I missed that bit of dialogue.
Have you tried pressing square?
Oracle, what's this green shape above my head? It's got 3 sides. Oracle.
I think it's a rhombus.
Oracle, I keep getting punched. Any suggestions?
That's almost you were.
That's almost Solid
you
Snake,
idiot.
yeah.
Yeah, or your water cooler, your Xbox water cooler.
They all drift together at some point. No, I don't think that Batman's voice acting was all that great. Joker's was phenomenal. Harley Quinn, awesome. Poison Ivy.
That's the original voice actress for Harley Quinn from the animated series as well. A lady
She's
called
so
Arlene Sorkin.
good.
Yeah.
But
And then weirdly enough, she stopped voicing her after this.
Yeah, but whoever filled in did an admirable job on the others, I feel.
Tara Strong, yeah, she's very fucking good at it. Like, if you put the two side by side, you can see the differences, well, hear the differences, but yeah, Tara Strong still does a very good Harley Quinn, in my opinion.
so Dan, give us the 30,000-foot view of the story here.
I told you before.
No, you didn't. Fly to an island, press square.
Batman Arkham Asylum is one of it's a standout moment in gaming for me because Batman has had a lot of games before this point, but this was probably the first time a superhero game really amazingly hit the mainstream when you think about how superheroes are integrated into society nowadays. But dial it back 10 years to 2009 and superheroes weren't as big as they are now. Superheroes was a niche thing. It's not mainstream as much as it is now. And Batman Arkham Asylum is a AAA project from a relatively unknown developer called Rocksteady. And it basically inserts Batman into Arkham Asylum itself. Arkham Asylum is the world you explore in this game. And it's about how Arkham Asylum gets taken over by the Joker, who plants a trap for Batman. He gets caught by Batman. Batman knows something's going on because Joker gets caught really easily compared to how he normally does. And Batman thinks something's going on. So he follows Joker into Arkham Asylum when he's being locked up. And Joker springs this trap. And then before Batman knows it, he's in this really intricate plot by the Joker to essentially take over the asylum. But there's more to it than that as you progress.
And it is so fantastically I know Eric has his issues with Kevin Conroy, but like from the moment you start the game, as soon as you start controlling Batman, while there's a load of dialogue and stuff happening with Joker's like attached to a table. Well, it's like what they have Hannibal Lecter around on, one of those kind of upright things. And as you're going through, you start getting so much info about the world just from the dialogue. Like Joker's there taking the piss out of the warden, and like there's TV screens from the warden like greeting new inmates in, and then there's like alongside the other side of the bar, there's other prisoners that have been moved from Blackgate, which you later find out was done on purpose for to set Batman up. And there's so much world building straight away from the beginning. And then like there's one bit where you still in the same section where you're in control of Batman, but you're stuck in kind of these dialogue sections, and they're transporting Killer Croc from one space to another, and it hints that he's going to come after Batman later, and Joker interacts with him and everything, and just the world building is absolutely incredible from the offset.
Yeah, it's atmospheric from the start as well, and what it really captures for me as well is the actually being Batman. Yes, Batman, he moves with purpose. He doesn't run as standard. He kind of walks very confidently. It just feels like being Batman. Everything about it, from his moveset to, well, we'll get more into the combat as we go forward, but you can use his gadgets and things like that as well. And it feels like being Batman in a way that games haven't done it till this point. This game is also a Metroidvania, basically. So you're in this intricate asylum environment which has all these different areas, and to progress through the game you will get new gadgets which basically open up new areas as you go forward. But it has a really natural flow to it throughout, I feel, as well.
This is a slight change of subject, but I'd like to take you guys on a little trip down memory lane.
Down a road?
It's not down a road, is it?
No. Is there a pink controller at the end of the road?
No. So I've mentioned on the show many times before that I took a big break from gaming at one point. It wasn't intentional, it just kind of happened. So obviously I had a PS2 as a teenager, and then as played like some of the big games on PS2, things like Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2, Final Fantasy X and that kind of thing. But my interest in gaming kind of started to wane off a little bit. Like I was a teenage boy, I realized I enjoyed tits and things like that. So, like these things just, you kind of stop playing them as much. And just when I moved out, when I went to college and everything, and when I moved out my parents, it's just something that I just didn't really bother with for ages. So like I hadn't touched the PS3 or 360 really at all. Like I'd played some Rock Band and a bit of Tekken around some mates' houses and things like that. Fast forward through to 2009, and I was living with a buddy of mine called Alan, and his girlfriend, his long-term girlfriend at the time, ended up moving in with us, and she brought with her an Xbox 360, and she bought, well, bearing in mind as well, we only had an SD television at the time, so like it wasn't even hooked up with a HDMI, it was hooked up with a SCART lead, and she bought Alan, because he was a big Batman fan, she bought him Arkham Asylum when it came out, and he hadn't really touched it, and they were out one night, and I was like, Batman game, all right, yeah, I haven't played anything in a while. And I booted this up, and even in SD, like it looked fantastic. And then at the very beginning of the game, there's all this dialogue, all this world building. Like, oh fuck, that's Kevin Conroy. Oh fuck, that's Mark Hamill. And then I went hardcore. Oh fuck, like they've got all of these voice actors and everything like that from the animated series that I remembered. And I remember like just thinking at the time, wow, this is gaming now. Like I haven't played anything like this before.
Oh, wow,
like
that's so cool.
And I could quite easily say, and getting towards that Christmas, so obviously this came out in August, getting towards that Christmas, my girlfriend at the time, she said, what do I want for Christmas? And she actually bought me a PS3 then. And I think I could quite easily say that this is the game that got me back into gaming. Because it was after then, and then I got my PS3 for Christmas, and I started getting gaming, started getting into it again. And funnily enough, the first game I really played on PS3 after that was Final Fantasy 13, which seemed like very much a departure from the last one I played. Then.
I think everybody was disappointed in that.
Yeah, but and I never finished Arkham at that point, and then because I didn't have a chance to go on the Xbox that much, and then a couple of years when I was proper into gaming again, when I finally got HD television as well, I got Arkham again on the PS3 and finally completed through there. But yeah, this is arguably the game that got me back into gaming, into the hobby that it is today.
That's great, Mike. That's a really cool story. I have a story about this game as well. I remember seeing some previews around it when it came out and things like that. So I've been 19 when this came out, I think. And I went down to the local store, I bought it, and I was expecting it to be all right, and I popped it in, and then I discovered, like you, that these characters are being voiced by these like such famous people and things like that. And I liked Batman. I grew up watching it. I've watched the 1960s Batman. I used to have a VHS with the 1966 Batman movie on. I watched the animated series when I grew up, and I liked Batman. I like Batman Forever and all that. Watched all them as I grew up, but I didn't know that much about Batman's extensive lore beyond that medium, for example. And this game is kind of what got me into the whole Batman mythos and finding more about the villains and things like that, because there's so many different villains in this, and you find out so much about them with all the bios and things like that. And I just thought it was such a fantastic piece of thing, and nowadays I'm really into Batman because of this game.
Well, I think what's great about the Arkham games as a whole, and obviously starting from this one, is it takes so many nods and so many influences and things like that from every single part of Batman lore. I mean, you go in there and you've got the voices from the animated series that, that's great from the start. But then, there's hints that it is its own universe, its own kind of Batman lore and chronology, but it has things that hint towards that things from the comics, some of the things in the comics and some of the things from the animated series have actually happened. Prime example, he has Oracle in his headset. So, not to go too deep into it, but if you know your Batman lore, obviously Barbara Gordon becomes Oracle after Joker shoots her in The Killing Joke.
See, and that's what I was going to ask, is who is Oracle? Because that's never really explained.
This ties back to me. I didn't know this when I first played this game, so I had to look it up. And so Oracle is Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, but who
is also Commissioner Gordon's daughter.
Yeah. So in the past, it's a very famous graphic novel / movie now, I think, called The Killing Joke, where the Joker basically comes and shoots Oracle in the spine, which makes her a paraplegic, and she's in a wheelchair, so she can't be Batgirl anymore, but she does Batman's technical support instead as Oracle.
So, like, the fact that it is Oracle in his headset rather than, say, Alfred, that goes to show that, so in this universe, the Killing Joke happened. That Joker, that doing that, because that's seen as one of the most fiendish things the Joker ever did, especially to, like, a loved one of Batman. That happened in there. And then there's just so many little nods and everything. And as Dan said, you get the bios, and on the bios, it mentions about some of their history and things like that. And again, little nods here and there. And then it's interesting looking, because when you get the bios in the options menu, in the pause menu, you get kind of like an artist kind of illustration of them. And it's interesting where they take the nods from on that as well, because there's characters that you get bios for that aren't actually in this game, like prime example, like Penguin and Catwoman and things like that. You still get information about them, and they obviously exist in this world. And it's interesting as a fan of Batman as a whole, where the influences come from to create those artist renditions that they have there, because there's subtle nods to, from the films and the comics and the animated series again. And then also what's interesting now, retroactively looking at it, having had the newer games, it's interesting where their design ideas went from the artist things to where they went. Like Penguin's a prime example.
He looks completely different in this sequel.
Yeah, it's a very kind of kind of tongue-in-cheek looking Penguin. I think it's quite silly looking, and then when you actually get to Arkham City, it's a very gritty Penguin, and his monocle is actually like the bottom of a glass bottle, and that's been impaled into his eye and things like that. It's very interesting where they went to with the designs.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like it's not a Batman origin story. That's where it differs from a lot of the things we see Batman doing. So chances are you see everybody knows Batman's origin story.
Yeah, it's like Spider-Man. Like they've stopped doing the Spider-Man origin stories.
Well, look at Insomniac Spider-Man. That stood out because it wasn't an origin story. Mm-hmm. Same with this. The lore is already in place. You haven't seen it happen, but it's all behind the scenes. You don't need to know about it, but you can still enjoy the experience. This is a more experienced Batman. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but you get to watch his parents get shot in this game.
You do, but you've got to have that at some point. But it ties into the whole story arc and what drives Batman, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows about. But
speaking of the Batman villains, I arguably don't know all of them, but of all of the DC universe, Batman is the one I'm the most familiar with and know the villains. I was hoping there would have been more, but I guess that's set up more in City and Night and all of that other stuff. But
I feel like there's a good balance though. If you had too many, it would be too many.
Well, they alluded to when you're trying to capture Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze. I thought for sure there'd be a Mr. Freeze fight there because you see his cell all frozen up.
Well, interestingly,
the Mr. Freeze fight in the sequel is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Mr. Freeze was planned to appear in the game originally, but he was removed because the character has no personal grudge against Batman or Joker. As such, he would not fit within the story. I found out. Apparently,
Mr.
Mad
Freeze
Hatter
is
was
a more
also planned
tragic character.
Yeah, Mad Hatter was also planned to appear in the Garden Maze, controlled by Poison Ivy, but that was removed when it didn't fit the game's tone. However, the Mad Hatter's riddle was still placed in the garden area.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
But yeah, obviously Mr. Freeze is... I don't know if you know the back history of Mr. Freeze, Eric, but he's...
Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah. Eyes to see you.
Tonight's
his whole thing is that he
coming.
He's, his whole
killed
thing
the
is trying to
dinosaurs?
cure his wife.
The Ice
and
Age!
just turns to crime to do it. And yeah, I
didn't hear what you said over
Dan.
Dan's terrible joke.
Okay. Mr. Freeze's backstory, obviously, he's turned to crime to try and cure his wife. And I think, that wouldn't work in Arkham Asylum. Well, it says no grudge against Batman, but surely it was Batman who got him locked up, so maybe. Contradicting myself now.
So what villains have we got in this game? So obviously we've got the Juke,
Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Harley Quinn,
Scarecrow,
Squarecrow.
Squarecrow.
ManBat and Squarecrow.
Well done.
I had to do it.
Yeah. And the Riddler, who you never actually see, but...
So is he
Riddler
really...
is
and Bane. Bane as well.
Oh, yeah, Bane, yeah.
The Bane fight was cool.
See, they turn him into some kind of like idiot though in this, and I don't like that because Bane's supposed to be like a
really intelligent.
Brute strength. He's supposed to be like master tactician and intelligent, and they turn him into a bit of a moron in this. And in fact, across the Arkham games, they kind of portray him a bit like that. There's only really Arkham Origins where he comes across like that, but that's going to future games, I guess. But Eric, do you want to describe the combat system?
Yes. So there is one button on your controller that you use. More so than the other one. No, so the combat itself actually, and I know I talk a lot of shit about it. It is a very good combat system. It's very rhythmic. It's not initially kind of comes across as very button mashy, but you do yourself a massive disservice by just going into every combat and smashing square.
Eric.
What?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
What?
Look behind you. I think Christy's coming in with some humble pie for you.
Oh, yes. Shaba for the humble pie. No,
I
it
don't
is.
understand how happy it is make me to hear you say this.
I'm willing to admit when I was wrong.
Not usually.
Sorry, Eric. Go on.
But it's a very rhythmic battle system in that you can't just jump into every fight mashing square and hope to win. The initial ones you can, but you've got your typical brutes. But as you progress through, then you'll have enemies come in with a knife, and you can't just smash square at them. You have to hit circle to kind of disable them, or double X to jump behind them to attack them from behind. And more so with the people who have the taser guns or actual weapons. But as you press square, it's sort of right in time with his punches. You have to press square, he'll punch, press it again to punch again, and then you can fly across the terrain to hit somebody else. And it's just kind of this delicate dance that you're doing to build up a combo. And as you get to a certain combo level, then you can get critical strikes, which then disable enemies a lot quicker. If you knock somebody down but you don't completely take them out, you can hit R2 and triangle to do a finishing move on them, which takes them out instantly. There is some strategery to it.
Strategery?
You realised there were other buttons. Yes.
Hello. This is. I should have set something up behind me where I could just pull it in loads of balloons and streamers and everything. Should have come out.
He's been saying this for years.
This is it's funny though. I mentioned this on our WhatsApp chat the other day that again, having played the later games, like I realized how minimalist this was compared to them. Like they add so much more in Arkham City. And going back to this, like I kind of jokingly said that I half agree with Eric. You know, there is a lot of just square in the battle system in this one because you don't use as many as the gadgets in this, because whilst you're doing all these combos and stuff, you can quick fire a batarang. Later on, you can use your back claw to pull them towards you and things like that. But
you don't
in the later
ever
ones, you can then start
do
using the
that.
explosive gel and things like that during the fight and everything. So going back to this one, for me personally, did feel quite rudimentary and quite restricted. I kept trying to do things that I'm so used to doing in the other ones that I did kind of lose my combos a few times because of, oh fuck yeah, I can't do that in this one. Balls.
I think the highest combo I got was 23.
I got 46, I think.
40 something as well, I think. Yeah.
Because I got the trophy.
I've played this
40,
to death though, so you just pick that up over time.
But I never found myself using the gadgets during the fights. Maybe towards the end, I would have the triple batarang and just fire that out quickly to kind of give myself a little bit of breathing room. But I didn't use.
See, the
claw.
best way to get used to using them is the game, as you progress through, will unlock challenge modes where you have to mix it up by using different combos and things like that. So that's how I got used to doing more of that throughout the game. But I think the combat for this is so good because it makes you feel like Batman. That's what it does. So you have Batman hits hard and fast, and he always feels one step ahead. Even though he's surrounded by 8-9 people, you are always in control of this fight. They can come and try and attack you, but Batman will just swat them away. And then before you know it, he's across the other end of the screen, kicking somebody in the face. And then when you finally finish off that last person, and it does the slow-mo where he does a flip and punches them in the head or something. It's just brilliant.
The countering moves are so much fun to watch too.
Yeah.
Because they're all interactive too. Somebody's coming at you with a pipe. There's like 4 or 5 different ways he'll grab that pipe and interact with them.
Yeah. It's also
this is
like
no
the triangle and
Weedy Adam West Batman either. He is a muscle-bound. He is an imposing figure.
Yeah.
This Batman, like the style that they've gone with him, he is a big dude.
I just love the triangle and circle moves as well, where he just snaps arms and legs and just disables them instantly. It's just brilliant. Because he doesn't kill, but like I say, he just gives them life-altering injuries.
You'll never walk again, but you're not dead. But going back to the atmosphere and everything again, this is very, very gritty. I mean, Batman obviously has very different styles. Obviously, harking back to the campy '60s version, and obviously when Tim Burton got hold of it, and you know the more dark side sort of came in, and this plays with that, but it still very much feels like a comic book game at times, despite having the darkness of it. You know, the way the Joker acts and everything like that. There's so much comic to it still, and things like and the Joker really stands out in it because it's such a dark and gritty game but the Joker himself and any items of his that you see, such vibrant kind of comic book colors. You know, his purple suit really stands out. His green hair, and then anything that he obviously puts, like he puts the presents and things in the world, and they stand out in such a comic book way. And it still really fits the style, though.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with the Joker. He's kind of the anti-Batman, so everything about him is swapped. So while the Joker looks like this cartoony character, in reality, he's the villain. He's insane. He's absolutely crazy. In the 1960s, for example, the Joker would have been portrayed more as a comedic character, but in lore of Batman, he is actually really sadistic and probably the most screwed up of everybody that Batman ever faces against. But his design is made to mirror Batman's because Batman is very dark and brooding, and the Joker is all crazy and out there and stuff like that. But it's just so effective the way it's done. The relationship between the two. One, in reality, would the Joker exist without Batman, and vice versa? And that's kind of what they play on in the Joker's mythos.
It's always been a really, really interesting dynamic. I mean, we could sit here for hours and talk about the Batman Joker dynamic, and you know, you could argue that sometimes the Joker is a little bit overused in Batman, and it definitely kind of, if like when you got to Arkham Origins, I know I'm talking about the sequels quite a lot here, but when you got to Arkham Origins and you know the Joker's in that and everything, you did start to feel a little bit of Joker fatigue. but him being the main villain and orchestrating everything that goes on in Arkham Asylum on this one night. Remember the entire thing happens in one night. It's such a kind of typical manic but calculated kind of plan that only someone like the Joker would have done.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a manic, crazy plan, but it's logically thought out, and he wants to cause as much chaos as possible. Basically, he just wants Batman's attention all the time, the Joker. That's why he does the things he does.
But going back to the other villains and stuff, and it feels very kind of compartmentalized in places, this game. So you've got sections where you start dealing with a new enemy, like a new boss, so to speak, a new character, and you kind of deal with them for a little while, despite the fact all the Joker stuff is still going on. And the Joker is obviously in control of the asylum, so as you're going around, he's doing like silly announcements over the tannoy, and which are all fantastic. And Mark Hamill, again, I can't go on enough about how fantastic he is in this. But you go through sections where you're then dealing with another enemy, like as soon as you get kind of meet Poison Ivy, you're kind of dealing with her for a little while, or you're starting to deal with Killer Croc for a little while, and they all have their very own kind of styles in what you're dealing with, and the boss fights are very, very different. I mean, Eric mentioned about the Bane fight, and the Bane fight is almost kind of just like an introduction to how you're fighting the Titans later on. But then, you got Killer Croc, who you never really properly face as a boss, but you end up in kind of a challenge down in his lair where you're trying to get through to get these plants that spawns to cure the Titan formula, which we'll go into when we get more into the story later on. But you're avoiding him. It's almost like a stealth section.
I love that section. It's so atmospheric and cool.
I hated that part. That was my least favorite part of the game.
How come?
Really?
It just felt generic. It felt like a really old video game trope of let's just create a really complex square maze and make you meander around it for ages. Did
you just walk, or did you hold the crouch button?
I held the crouch button.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was going to say, that's the quicker way of doing it.
Yeah. Held the crouch button. But yeah, I don't know. I just got to the end of it. I'm like, I'm glad I'm done with that.
I really enjoy the Killer Croc fight. I remember it being very atmospheric the first time I played it, and when he pops up and he's this huge imposing figure and you have to quickly throw a batarang at him or otherwise he gets you, it's just cool.
No, it was neat. There was definitely tension within it, especially when it popped up and you had to run away from him. But it just
I watched Boundary Break recently on YouTube, where it reveals how where Killer Croc comes from in that section. So basically, he's never really there until he appears, because underneath he's kind of held off the map in a standard T pose. When they're kind of like this, that characters like loiter off maps a lot like that, and then he just kind of pops up out of nowhere and appears. And when Batman gets dragged down, he kind of, which is weird because Killer Croc will disappear, but Batman will actually ragdoll in the water and actually hits the bottom and things like that. It's just really strange, the things that go on behind the scenes in games.
Interesting. But, I mean, we've spoken a bit about how this game really, really makes you feel like Batman, and one of the other things that it nails is, Batman's known as, is a detective as well as, a hero, and it has elements of that in this game. It's quite rudimentary in this game. It's only kind of used to find a way. You're basically finding waypoints for yourself. But there'll be sections of the game where he'll set up. He says, "I'll set up a crime scene," and you have something in this game called detective vision, and
which you spend 90% of your time in.
Yeah, one of the criticisms of this game has always been that you could essentially play the entire game in detective vision if you wanted to. And what happens with detective vision is his cowl is analyzing everything around the room. So it turns like blue, and it's scanning everything. And as you go around, you'll see letters. Think like when you see through the Terminator's vision in the Terminator films, where he has all the words and the numbers at the side, but obviously it's blue on this one. It'll set up the sections where he'll set up a crime scene to try and find like fingerprints, for example, and then you follow the fingerprints. It sets you up a waypoint to go somewhere to find someone, and it's expanded. It's expanded much more in the later games as well. But the idea that he is a detective as well as anything else. I mean, one of his villains, Ra's al Ghul, who's not in this game, always calls him detective.
Well, you see his corpse.
That's who he is. Yes, yeah, you do. Yeah,
You do, and it also disappears later on.
Ooh.
That is a hidden Easter egg which you wouldn't notice unless you went back. The body bag is full earlier in the game, but if you go back later, it's empty.
I didn't know that one. That's new to me.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it nails that side of things as well, and it's a shame that it's not expanded upon more in this one, knowing that we get what we get later on. And to say, I apologize, I keep comparing it to the sequels, but it does nail that aspect in terms of you can use detective vision when you're in a because there's two kinds of challenges in this game, and when it comes to enemies, there's what Eric said before. There's the actual fighting, but then there's like what's called the predator sections, where you will be in a room with various amounts of guards, and you are trying to stealthily take them all out. And there's many ways to do it. You can set up explosives, or you can sneak out of vents on the floor. You can jump down upon them, and then there's usually gargoyles which you can go between, and which you can then swoop. You can unlock a thing to swoop down and tie them up and things like that. But you can use the detective vision then as well to kind of plan out what you're doing, because the guards, no matter where they are in the room, you see their skeletons, and there'll be different colors if they've got guns and things like that, and it'll tell you about like their heart rate and if they're if they're panicked or worried and things like that, and you can use that to then strategize exactly what you're going to do. And it's such a good feeling. I mean, we banged on so much about how Spider-Man made you feel like Spider-Man, but honestly, I've said this several times, it just this nails being Batman. It really
does. Well, that's the other aspect of being Batman, like being one with the night. He can strike from anywhere and instills this fear in the people who he fights against. And just the act of, for example, hanging off a gargoyle and waiting for somebody to come underneath him and swooping down and picking them up and then freaking out. And then he strings them up, the gargoyle, using a batarang, and they're just hanging there. But you could then, for example, swing across to another gargoyle, and when his mates come to check on him, throw a batarang through the rope and drop that body onto them, freaking them out even more. It's just great.
See, I never messed with it to that extent.
You weren't a fan of the Predator sections.
I couldn't stand those. Maybe just later in the game when it was everybody had a machine gun. So you had to be quite a bit more methodical. I just wanted to jump in, punch some dudes, maybe press triangle, and be on my way.
Standard Peterson way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know you're not a massive fan of stealth compared to someone like me. You would prefer to go in guns blazing if you can, but I don't know. I would have thought you would have really enjoyed them. I was really, really shocked when you said you didn't like them.
It was mainly the pump section, the one Predator section towards the end when you had to shut off one of the pumps, and it just was. I think I died 5 or 6 times on that section, and I just got frustrated with it.
But again, if you went into the challenge mode and tried that same area where it challenges you to do these different things, for example, it might say, put explosive gel on this wall and knock out 2 people at once. That's where it gets really fun.
And I got to the point too where you get into that sound, or you get into the control booth, and you can pull the floor out from the other 2 dudes.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
If you set up a trap where you explode your gel on the ground, a bunch of people will run under that. Then you can pull the floor down on top of them and kill a bunch of people at once. So I get it. It's neat. It just wasn't my favorite.
I have another fact about the explosive gel. Did you know that the noise it makes is from a whipped cream can?
It sounds like
that's
it.
That's
I was literally about to bring that up, Dan.
I feel like the gadgets are pretty largely underused throughout the game, though.
I mean, you can use them if you want in the combat. In the Predator sections in particular, it's good, for example, to use the remote batarang, or the signal batarang, even with the sonic batarang, where you throw it and it attracts the attention of an enemy, so you can isolate them and pick them off. Or you can throw a triple batarang to knock 3 people down at once and then isolate someone. Or you can use the explosive gel and put it on a wall and wait for somebody to walk past, and it'll give you a proximity trigger, and then you press it and then blows the wall up and knocks them out.
See, I didn't get the remote control batarang. I didn't do the proximity gel. I was more or less just, I'm going to sneak up on you, snap your neck, and then sneak up on the next dude, snap his neck.
You're not snapping their neck. Batman doesn't kill them.
Go to sleep.
He just puts them nicely to sleep.
Yeah. Typically, if you knock somebody unconscious and they don't wake up within a few seconds, you are causing irreparable brain damage. So,
but he's not
killing them.
Care.
He's not killing them. Life-changing injuries, guys. But
you're
he's not bothered.
dead. You still go to your daughter's wedding.
one of the things I really like about this game as well, because it takes place over the course of one evening. Batman's suit degrades over
I was
time.
going to say I like that.
And it's so cool. I have another fact as well about Batman's cape. Apparently, it took a designer 2 years to get that right because of the way it reacts to the environment.
I noticed that
It's
as
like
you're
wind
drifting
and-
down, like if you get close to a ledge, the part of the cape will tuck itself in, so it does actually interact with the environment around it.
Yeah. It's incredible design, really, for 2009 as well. You've got to think. It just nails the feel of being Batman. Even gliding down, for example, to glide kick somebody when you're in a Predator section, just looks so cool and imposing. Especially if you do it as the last move, where you knock them out. It's just excellent.
Interestingly enough, this came. Well, before I get onto that, one of the things I noticed this time playing through that I'd never noticed before is the first Scarecrow section.
Squarecrow.
That you get a. Sorry, Squarecrow. Which let's delve deep into in a bit, because I think I kind of deserved its own section was talking about it. But on the first one of those, you notice that Batman, because he starts having a bit of wear and tear before then, like the first Scarecrow section, he doesn't have it. Like his suit's repaired again when you see the cutscene.
Oh, is it?
And at first I thought it was like an error in the cutscene, and I thought about it, I was like, no, actually, I see what they've done.
They know
there.
exactly what they're doing with these Scarecrow sections, which are incredibly effective, I feel. Almost Eternal Darkness-ish in the way it works. It's very fourth wall breaking, messes with you as a player, these Scarecrow.
Well, there's a part later
sections.
in the game where the screen looks like it freezes.
Yeah. And then there's a bit where the Joker shoots you in the face and it says use the middle stick to move out of the way, and I'm like, I remember playing that the first time. I was like, there is no middle stick, what's it talking about?
Well, Ellie was watching that with me. I'm like, probably should have pressed a button there to prevent that.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened, Daddy? I'm like, Batman went to sleep.
I mean, fuck it, let's get onto the Scarecrow sections now. So, if you don't know the Scarecrow character, which I think most people do if you're into your Batman, because, I mean, they even used him in some of the most recent films, but he uses like a fear gas to prey on your fears. And is it 3 sections, I think? 3 Scarecrow sections?
3 or 4.
And yeah, and the first one you do, you're going down in an elevator and suddenly this gas comes through and you kind of think nothing of it. And then you go through and, like, for a brief moment, it almost becomes like a horror game. You're looking through this glass and you end up seeing one of the guards, like, kind of, it's like he's being torn away by some sort of monster. And then you find Commissioner Gordon dead. And it starts off, you start trying to call Oracle, and instead of getting Oracle, you just get like the number you were trying to call has not been recognized, and like just strange dial tone. So all this weird shit just starts happening.
And the camera also starts to tilt like it did on Eternal Darkness as well.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it does.
And if you go into detective mode, Batman's eyes are glowing as well, if you look. Which I
think that's outside of detective mode.
Yeah, that's
as well.
outside of
Like,
detective
just in
mode.
general.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I'd never realized, because you only see it if you kind of turn towards the camera. But these sections, they kind of end up going into like almost 2D platformer sort of sections. I mean, you're not jumping, you're just kind of holding X and climbing on the things. But the whole world just goes absolutely crazy, and you end up on these kind of isolated sections of ground and like broken up bits of building, and the Scarecrow is in the middle, and you've got to avoid his eye line to get up to him to try, and it's supposed to be like Batman in his head conquering the fear gas. But like Eric mentioned earlier, you end up seeing Batman's parents die in this, because one of the Scarecrow sections, you actually end up controlling Bruce Wayne as a small boy, and he relives the section where his parents get killed. And it's so...
Sorry, you know that section again where he's going through that to see his parents, for example? That section where the corridor changes? Mm-hmm. So the corridor changes very subtly as you go through it. With every lightning flash, the corridor changes. And again, I'll have Boundary Break to thank for this fact, but there is actually 4 different iterations of the corridor. So every time the lightning flashes, you are being very subtly transported to another version of that corridor. So they exist against each other, but you'll only ever see one as a gameplay. So it's fascinating game development, how everything you see is kind of isolated. It's like, because obviously it feels like this cohesive whole, but outside of that, there's kind of just all these things stored like under the map and just waiting to pop into the scene, and it's just fascinating. It really is.
But what Eric was talking about earlier, where you get to the point where you get shot in the face, and it on one of them it is this section where you go back to the opening cutscene of the game, but everything's switched around. So Joker's driving the Batmobile, and it's Batman who's tied up in the seat.
Yeah, and
then it's obviously you're the one tied up to the Hannibal Lecter thing, and Joker's there prancing around. And if you look on the screens, instead of Ward and Sharp, it's the puppet Scarface that's introducing everyone into the asylum, and it's all these little touches are just great. And it's Harley Quinn who's alongside, like being the Doctor and stuff. And
yeah, I just love the Scarecrow's design with the syringes on his hand, and he just looks quite imposing.
I think a 2D side-scrolling Batman done in that vein would be awesome.
Well, they did one alongside Arkham Knight on the Vita and on mobile called, I think it's Blackgate, Batman Blackgate or something like that.
I've never played that one.
Yeah, I think I touched on it on mobile, but I didn't enjoy the touch controls. But yeah, I think it's on Vita. It was tied in alongside Arkham Knight. But I was watching something recently when the 10th anniversary happened in August. I can't remember who it was, but I was watching some stream where basically they wanted to complete it in one go. I think it might have been kind of funny, actually. And Greg Miller, who reviewed it for IGN back in the day, he was talking about like when it came out and when he had to review it and everything. And apparently the Scarecrow sections were completely embargoed. Like you couldn't discuss the Scarecrow sections at all.
Okay.
They wanted to keep it a complete mystery to the gamers, which I think is a nice touch as well.
They are very well done. They really are. It's just, I just loved it back in the day, and I remember being so surprised by it and how, because like you say, when he's going down the elevator and he starts coughing, you think, oh, Batman's just got a little cough. The next thing you know, you're in this nightmarish world and he's unzipping body bags with his parents inside, and then he unzips one and the Scarecrow pops out. And I think I said to this to you in WhatsApp though, but when Batman is in these Scarecrow sections, what the hell is he up to in real life? Because he just ends up at the top of a clock tower for no reason. I think there's I don't know if it's in another one like Night, or it might be in Night, where he beats up a load of, so all these enemies that you beat up where you're in the Scarecrow section, then when he wakes up, they're on the floor like real people that he's actually beat up. So it's interesting to think.
Night, yeah. But yeah, this is my favorite. You were on about the Scarecrow's design. This one and the way he looks in Arkham Knight with the syringes, especially, like is one of my favorite. Visually, one of my favorite iterations of Scarecrow, because I remember in the animated series he just looks like a kind of actual comical Scarecrow with like a big hat and everything as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, Eric. You know the bit where he gets dragged off by Killer Croc, the Scarecrow?
Yeah.
So that actually ties into Arkham Knight, because Scarecrow is the main villain for that, but he gets mauled by Killer Croc at this point, because Killer Croc doesn't care. He just attacks whoever, and he gets mauled, and then Scarecrow kind of makes his face into his mask, so he looks more like a Scarecrow.
He actually becomes the main villain of Arkham Knight, doesn't he? Because there's actually Easter eggs in Arkham City. This is going on to the sequels a little bit. There's an actual Easter egg in Arkham City where you can actually find like a guard. It's during the bit later on where like everything's going mental, where there's all the helicopters and fires and everything like that, and you can actually find like a guard passed out, an enemy passed out with kind of a Scarecrow mask on, which hints towards him coming back in Night, which is really cool. I know that's not this game, and that's kind of by the by, but there's a hidden boat. There's a hidden boat on City as well, which is full of Scarecrow fear gas. Yeah, there is. Yeah, but I mean, talking about Easter eggs and kind of hidden things, one of the best Easter eggs in gaming is one in this game. When I was talking about the detective mode, you can see the walls that you can normally blow up, but there's an actual Easter egg in this game where there's a wall in the warden's office where you have to put 3 explosive gels on it. And you can't see that you could normally blow it up like you could in Detective Vision. It just looks like a completely normal wall. And you blow it up and you go through there and you find the warden's plans for the actual Arkham City prison that is in the Arkham City game. And nobody found this Rocksteady had to actually, about 6 months after Arkham Asylum came out, Rocksteady actually came out and said, "You've all missed this Easter egg. This is like this was in here before." Like,
yeah, it was really cool. But one of the other major Easter eggs of this game is, in fact, Easter eggs from the Batman series, because the Riddler is in this game, and he sets a load of riddles for you to solve as you go through. And it's introduced quite early on, and it introduces you to the mechanic of scanning things to solve riddles. So, for example, you don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait. Right next to you is a picture of Quincy Sharp, the warden, and that's what you need to scan to do it. And then on top of that, the Riddler has also put these little tiny question mark trophies everywhere, which you may be able to get at certain points, or you may not, depending on what you've unlocked, which ties into the Metroidvania aspects of the game.
See, and I don't think the first time I played through I did any of those.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And then I forgot, because you're right, they do teach you about the scan mechanic really early in the game. And probably about a third of the way through, I was coming across these scarab-type beetle statues. What the fuck are these things for? Detective mode, couldn't do shit about it, and just completely forgot you could scan them, so I missed quite a chunk of them.
See, I have finished this game before with doing all of the Riddler challenges and everything like that, and I wanted to do it this time as well, but I just ran out of time, unfortunately. I just had to kind of golden path it at the end, because I just kept getting distracted doing them, because I really enjoyed the riddle side of it, like trying to figure out some of the harder ones, and, you know, they're quite well written and things like that. You know, like there's one about penguins, like there's penguins and hat and umbrella somewhere, and the riddle is something about, you know, a bird doesn't want to get wet and things like that, and they make the game very interesting. You know, you go into a room and the riddle comes up as you go into the room that's the right place and it's in there, and they're just very fun to find, I think. And it was a great
they just add to it and encourage world exploration. And
it was a great way to involve the Riddler. I mean, like I said, I didn't do them all this time, but the downside to this is you never ever meet him, because if I remember rightly, like I said, I didn't do it this time, is you kind of beat his last riddle, and then Batman kind of hacks the phone call, because obviously he's chatting to you, to go back to where Riddler is, and then he alerts the police to where Riddler is, and then you hear him getting arrested, which is a little bit of a letdown, in my opinion. It would have been cool to see him, but it was a nice way of involving him. But the one thing I don't like about these is the ones where you have to find the question mark and then the dot and line it up.
I only came across one of those.
So there's a few of them throughout the game, and the riddles will be like, you know, you can only see this from solve this from a certain angle and things like that. And you go into detective vision, and on a wall somewhere will be the top part of a question mark, and somewhere else there will be a dot, and you have to find both and then get the camera in an angle so that the dot is underneath the question mark, and then scan it. And some of those really, really fuck me off.
It's really finicky as well. Sometimes they can be lined up and it says, solution not aligned. And like, yes, it is.
Well, I came across some where I would scan and it would go, subject too small. And then you'd scan that same area again and be like, no subject detected. And then you try to scan anywhere. And it's just no subject detected. So
sometimes that's when it's detecting other things than the one you're looking at.
Yeah. Because some of them you have to zoom in. So like there's one about, there's a plaque you have to scan in the main hall of the mansion-y type building, and you actually have to go into first-person view by clicking the right stick and zoom in on the actual plaque for it to do it. Otherwise, it just says subject too small.
There's one like where it's a plaque with the Wayne Foundation of the benefactors of something, and then there's ones on the bench in the botanical gardens and things like that. But you can also find audio tapes as well, which are recorded interviews with different inmates.
I like those,
which are excellent and just build upon the world. Apparently, Harley Quinn's is based off dialogue in an old comic about Harley Quinn as well, which is really interesting.
It's almost like if you listen to hers and the Joker's ones kind of concurrently, you almost get the full backstory of Harley Quinn, and you know how she's a victim of Stockholm syndrome with the Joker, and you know,
because she started off as somebody that worked at the penitentiary, right?
Yeah, the Joker basically corrupts her, and she falls in love with the Joker and adopts this life of crime and goes insane, basically. So
Mr. J.
Did you guys know that during this game, if you periodically go to visit the visitors center, there are hidden scenes?
No.
where the Joker talks to you. So
I knew there was one. I didn't realize there was repeated ones.
yeah, so if you go at different points, so you naturally go to that kind of area throughout the game multiple times. And if you keep going in, the Joker will say, or Harley Quinn will be there and they'll say different things to you.
Interesting.
There was one where, because the Joker basically communicating you via a television set, and he's like, it's like the Joker basically with a television set on, then the Joker is talking through the television set. But I went in once and there was 3 of them there, and they were all talking at the same time. It's really cool.
I didn't know that. Really didn't know that.
There's a lot hidden in this game that you wouldn't know about.
So the boss fights then, obviously we spoke about Bane. Scarecrow, it's kind
Mike,
of...
sorry, before you get into that, I've got one more hidden thing. There is a contest winner cameo, apparently.
Oh, yeah, I found this.
Near where... So, Eric, remember the bit where you rescue the warden and you get the cryptographic sequencer thing?
Yeah.
So near there is one prisoner in a cell who is just by himself, doesn't do anything. That is apparently somebody who won a contest and they put his likeness in the game.
Oh.
Yeah, his name appears on the Joker's party list as well. He's called Luke Oliver.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool? And then you might not have got this riddle there, Eric, but if you look, there's a wall in there where there's, for example, it might have Commissioner Gordon person behind it, or Quincy Sharp, or somebody like that. That is Clearface, and every time you turn the camera around, he turns into a different person.
Interesting.
There was also a fictional website called Arkham Care being advertised over the PA systems throughout the game, and at the time of the game's release, going to that URL would lead to an actual website with details about the asylum and treatments, but it's been taken down now, unfortunately.
I have such fun memories of the intercom noise where it comes on, dung 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 dung, and it just reminds me of this game. And then when it's one of the Scarecrow sections, it goes all discordant.
Yeah,
except if you spend too much time outside in the courtyard, Joker starts to repeat himself quite liberally.
Well, he's got to get the message across,
I suppose.
Yeah. I always remember I played Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions after this, and that has a section where you're playing a Spider-Man Noir, and you're going through this like theme park section, and it's all dark and gritty, and it's Green Goblin doing like announcements like that, and they just proper rip this off. But yeah, that do 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 like always gets stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But the one that always makes me laugh is when it goes off, and then like Joke's just going, "Hello, I'm Warden Idiot."
I love that one. That's so good.
And I do like the one as well where like he takes Quincy Sharp hostage and he's obviously getting him to read things out, and like Quincy Sharp's like, I'm not reading this, and then you hear him hitting him and stuff like that. It's very much world building. But yeah, boss parts. So we mentioned Bane. I think the other main ones really is the Poison Ivy fight, which could almost feel out of place in this game, but somehow doesn't at the same time.
So I don't like it though. This is one of my least favorite bits of it. I don't really like it very much.
Really? Yeah. So there's a plot in this. The main kind of plot thread of this game is that Joker he gets hold of the something called Titan, which is kind of a more souped up version of the venom that makes Bane what he is. And there's a doctor in the asylum who works in the asylum who he's been kind of blackmailing and stuff to create for him, and he wants to create these Titan super soldiers, and he ends up injecting Poison Ivy with it. And what happens with that is her plants end up taking over essentially the entire island, and the scenes everywhere kind of change. There's all these like giant vines and everything going through areas that you've been before, and the boss fight itself, the Poison Ivy is inside this giant huge flower where she's protected by a sort of capsule, and then like there's other flowers alongside of it firing lasers at you, and then she tries to put these vines through the ground which will grab you, and then you end up fighting guys. And like I said, it could very much feel out of place because although it is a superhero story, and you know there are crazy characters like the Killer Croc, who's this huge actual beast, and you know it almost feels a bit too fantastical for the universe as it stands, because you kind of forget, you know, it is a superhero game in that way, because he's obviously not got superpowers or anything like that. But it's they somehow managed to get it to fit, even whether you like it or not. But it's very strange how well it fits, in my opinion.
Yeah,
why didn't you like it?
It works. I just feel compared to the other fights, it's a bit janky. And with when the vines come out of the ground and grab you, for example, I feel like that doesn't work very well.
You have such a small attack window.
But I said to you, you can attack it at any point.
You just spam the batarangs just over and over again. Just keep hammering L1.
Yeah, but if you want to hit her when her capsule is open, you have a very small window because she's shooting those glowy seed balls.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. And they'll start to home a little bit towards the end as well, don't they? Because there's 2 stages. And then when she comes down, you have to spray explosive gel on the canister and explode it open.
I have a question. Does he have to do it in the image of a bat every time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't.
There is one instance where he doesn't.
When he puts it on his knuckles.
I think it's when he does it where Killer Croc's coming as well on the ground. I don't know if he does.
No, he just sprays it in like a...
Yeah. Wouldn't that make his hand explode?
That's what I thought too. And how did he detonate it? Yeah, we'll get there.
It's by impact sometimes.
But the last boss on this is generally regarded online as kind of a bit of a disappointment because you end up fighting the Joker after he injects himself with the Titan formula. And something about it, like, just before this, like really bugs me about this. He ends up injecting Batman with the Titan formula, and Batman just miraculously stops himself transforming into like the mutant.
Yeah.
Like he's so good at fighting it that like he doesn't change, and that really like it's such a fucking cop out.
He does inject himself with the antidote as well, though, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. But at first, like all the other guys who get injected with the Titan, they just like transform straight away. Whereas like he just through sheer like will force, he just stops himself transforming, and it really bugs me. I don't like it. But and Joker ends up transforming into like a Titan version of Joker, but he kind of keeps all his... Well, if Joker has any faculties, he keeps his faculties, compared to the other guys who just turn into hulking, like, mindless beasts.
He gets a really nifty green Mohican as well.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. But I wouldn't say it was a disappointment, this boss fight, but I don't know. The fact that it's just kind of another Titan monster...
Yeah, it's hard to kind of make a boss fight between Batman and Joker. Well, Joker is a good hand-to-hand combatant. Him going squaring up to Batman wouldn't work that well, I don't think, just as his normal self. He's devious and sends other people to do his work a lot of the time.
I don't know. Like, I haven't got the answer of how they could have made it better, but I don't think it was a great choice, personally.
No, it's relatively simple as well. It's basically just beat up the enemies, wait for the Joker to turn around, backclaw him, knock him down.
I made myself laugh because like Eric said to me, "Oh yeah, any tips on just getting through this last boss quickly? Because like, I just want to get it done." And I was just like, "Well, don't do anything fancy with the other guys.
Press
Literally
square.
just use square as much as possible." I was like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm fucking saying this."
So, question: when you become a Titan, there's some pretty graphic scenes of people becoming Titans and their spine ripping out of the back of their skin and bones shattering through. But you can then be cured and go back to normal, like Joker did. That's got to be a fucking painful experience.
Oh, yeah. But the sequel ties into this. So,
yeah.
In case you ever play it.
I actually just checked. I do have the sequel, so I'll probably not.
I really
play
think you should play it because the sequel it's more of the same, but on a grander scale. So while Arkham Asylum has this kind of very insular, very Metroidvania aspect to it, where it's in this asylum and you progress through this kind of indoor environment, city expands on that, and you get access to a whole section of the city, but also with these very intricate sections. And it's interesting to see how the series progresses from there. Even Arkham Origins is a fantastic game in its own right. And me and Mike have said this in the past. We think it has some of the best boss battles in the series, even though that's not developed by Rocksteady. And it's kind of the black sheep of the Arkham family, but I think it's a great game. It really is.
It's a bit ropey in places in terms of how it runs as well. But yeah, it's still great. It's real disappointing that it never gets the same love, in my opinion.
For example, it was snubbed out of the Arkham collection. It's not in there.
Yeah, exactly. Which, interestingly, I played this on Xbox One X, the Return to Arkham, which does have the Xbox One X patch. It's not 4K, obviously, because it's such an old game. But interesting, I don't know if anyone else experienced it on there, but I read up, because I think I have this on PS3, but I just wanted to play it on my Xbox. I'd looked, I think it was Digital Foundry, and they were on about the Xbox One X version stutters all the way through because apparently it runs at 45 frames per second, which isn't easily divisible on the 60 frames per second that you'd expect. But I don't know if they've patched it since Digital Foundry wrote that, because I had no problems. Like the cutscenes, the super duper cutscenes, like at the beginning stuff, they kind of stuttered a little bit, but throughout the game, like it was squeaky clean what I played.
Okay,
I'd be interested to find out if anyone else has played it on One X and their experience of it,
OG,
and when it was they played
OG
it.
Xbox.
Yeah, I played original PS3. One of my disgusting red boxes from Greatest Hits.
I'm really happy that you enjoyed this, Eric. I was expecting you to poo all over it. So
No. That's for the
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, the show later this year. I'm saving all my poo. I definitely did enjoy it. It's one that I do remember playing back in 2012 and not really enjoying it. So I think it had something to do with the fact that I decided to play it on hard then.
Yeah,
but
I honestly think this is about my 7th playthrough of this game since this came out. I love it so much.
I'm not
I love
typically
this trilogy.
a huge superhero fan, especially superhero games. Like Spider-Man for me was a big leap to buy that at launch and play that. I'm glad I did, but I did enjoy my time. I'm glad I pounded through it, and if I ever find myself in a gaming lull, I'd probably have a tickle with the other ones.
Yeah. City takes everything that made this game great and makes it even better. Really does. It's a great, fantastic story as well. But I mean, one of the biggest, it's going to sound like a strange thing to say, but one of the biggest accolades I can give this game is, without this, I don't think the PS4 Spider-Man would have existed.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Not on like the kind of. I think this proper rejuvenated the superhero genre on video games.
This is the most critically acclaimed superhero game of all time.
Interesting.
Well, probably not after Spider-Man. Surely that's changed.
Maybe, but it used to be anyway.
Yeah.
I think it was in that. Wasn't it around 10 years ago that the Marvel Cinematic Universe started as well? So it's kind of in that bubble kind of era where superheroes have had a boom. And they are more popular than ever.
Let me see. Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, the first Iron Man was 2008.
Thought so.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this definitely paid. I mean, I said it myself. Like, how many people, when Spider-Man was when they found out Spider-Man was in development, how many people went, "Oh my god, this looks like Spider-Man, but like an Arkham Spider-Man"?
I did.
Yeah. I think a lot of people said it. I think this completely paved the way for it. But as you can probably tell, me and Dan have a lot of love for this game. And it was very interesting going back. And I know I've brought up the sequels quite a lot, but it was very interesting to see how kind of... It's not small, but like how much of a smaller experience this is compared to those. As Eric would say, it really laid the groundations, I think, for the future ones. And it was very interesting to go back.
I love groundations. If it's anything you've ever came up with accidentally, Eric, that I love so much, it's groundations. I was listening back to an older episode and somebody just said it you said it off the cuff, Eric, and it was so funny.
And it was very interesting to go back because a little part of me was intrigued to see if I would, because I don't think I've played this again since City and the others came out. And I wanted to see, because some people kind of say, well, going back and having that smaller, more contained experience like makes Arkham Asylum the better game in a way. And I was intrigued to see if I would end up preferring this over City. And I can't say I do, but that's not a knock on this game at all. I think part of the reasons is my own fault for feeling very limited in what I can do compared to the other ones. But I would highly recommend this to anyone. Like, even if you're a massive fan of Batman or necessarily superhero games. I mean, Eric, you said you're not really a fan of them. Like, I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had here. There's so much character, so much world building, and the systems in place, although can feel a little clunky in places, are easy to wrap your head around. Yeah, 2 thumbs up from me.
5 out of 5 boiled owls from me.
Yeah,
I'd give it 4 out of 5 squares.
I knew you were going to say that.
I did as well.
It's
one of the better games we've played in a long while for the show, I would say. I enjoyed it. I mean, I've missed a few episodes, but...
I mean, it's no Gex or Ghostbusters, but...
I've redeemed myself.
One interesting thing, bring up. There's 3 different things you can get at the end. It's completely random. But after the credits, there's a scene where you see a barrel of Titan in the water, and a hand will come out and grab it.
That's what I got.
That happens regardless, but it depends. Basically, it's at random whose hand comes out, so there can be Bane's, Scarecrow's, or Killer Croc. But the Scarecrow hand is kind of seen as canon because it's hints towards him not being dead and him coming back in the sequel.
I think that's who I got.
I got Bane this time. Yeah,
I think mine was either Killer Croc or Scarecrow.
Apparently, the game owes its existence to a failed game tie-in for the Dark Knight film. Pandemic couldn't get the game finished in time for the release of the movie. Eidos were in control of the game license. They got Rocksteady to make the next Batman game instead.
I saw something once about the combat system where it was meant to be rhythm inspired, and it was meant to be like a rhythmic, dancey kind of game, like Guitar Hero, and that's where the rhythmic aspect of the combat system comes from.
Yeah, I can see that. Interestingly, did you ever play Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, it's literally the exact same battle system.
Yeah. Also a Warner Brothers game, so they kind of...
I wish they would do...
They nicked Assassin's Creed and put the Batman combat system on.
Yeah. I really wish they would do a Ninja Turtles game in this style.
Yeah, it'd be cool. That would be cool.
Well, who knows what Rocksteady's working on? We still don't know. So they've been quiet for a long time. So...
Well, Warner Brothers Montreal have hinted about a new Batman game. It's going to be a Court of Owls game, apparently. So, little Easter egg, which harks back to the comics. So, when you die on this, depending on what section it is, you'll get, or what villain you're involved with at the time, you'll get like these little kind of snippets of cutscene where the idea is that they're over Batman's body and taunting him. If you lose to Bane, one of the game over sequences shows Bane lifting him up and breaking Batman's back, which is obviously which is a reference to when it happened in the comics, and then obviously that happens in The Dark Knight Rises as well, doesn't it?
Spoilers.
Let's have a look. In one of the Scarecrow audio tape interviews, you'll hear mentions of Dr. Murphy and Dr. Coombs. Cillian Murphy plays Scarecrow in Christopher Nolan's Batman film series, and Jeffrey Coombs voiced Scarecrow on the later episodes of the new Batman Adventures. So that's a little callback to those.
There's just a lot of love in this game for the Batman series in general. It's kind of, they've done the research. They know what they're talking about.
It's made by people who absolutely love they've got a lot of love for the source material. They really do.
I'm sure I probably would have gotten a lot more out of it had I been a larger Batman fan. But I can appreciate it for what it was.
Like
game
a fatter one?
Yeah, just large, huge, enormous.
Fat man.
Man fat.
You're looking chunky. That's just my man fat.
That's my man fat.
I don't know. When did Arkham City come out, Dan? When can we play that for the show?
I think it's 2 years later, 3 years later.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
Yeah.
We'll
Everybody
still
can
be
kick
here.
off about that and leave us a negative review.
Shall we move on to listener questions?
We shall.
Yeah, I've got them up. Dalton Sutor. What other superhero do you think could really benefit from a AAA title such as the Arkham series or now Spider-Man? I'd have to say Moon Knight or Spawn.
I think they're too out there for people to embrace. Well, the Avengers game's coming out. I mean, doesn't look amazing.
So yeah, we'll see how that one goes, I guess.
Yeah,
I was really disappointed by the Iron Man games when they came out. Those were kind of shit.
The movie tie-ins, though, weren't they?
Yeah, they were terrible.
I never actually played those.
They were not good.
DC, I would quite like a Flash game. I think that would be quite cool. I mean, everybody's always been on about how you would do a Superman game, and Rocksteady for the longest time have been rumoured to be making a Superman game, but they've came out and said they're not. So, I mean, we've all had the excellence of Superman 64 to enjoy, of course. But
I don't know how you make a good Superman game. Like, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Superman anyway. Like, I find him too overpowered, and he only really has one specific weakness.
That's the thing. You'd have to find a way to weaken Superman, which kind of goes against how people want to be Superman. Yeah. So you'd have to incorporate something like he gets poisoned by kryptonite, or when he's under red sun radiation, it weakens him or something like that. So you'd have to have something in place like that, which weakens him so you progress over time and eventually become Superman, I think. I think that's how you would have to do it.
And you'd want to, you would want to be able to fly everywhere. And I don't know how you can make that into a game and make it fun or realistic or anything like that. It's the problem with flying superheroes. You have to restrict them in some way, shape, or form.
This may come as a shock, but I would like to see a Captain America game. There
was one on PS3, which was the movie tie-in.
Was there?
I think it got like kind of fair to middling reviews. It was nothing groundbreaking, but I think it was serviceable as far as I know.
Oh yeah, Super Soldier.
What? I think Green Arrow would be all right. Done in this style.
Yeah, put it in the Guerrilla engine that what's his face? Horizon's in.
Decima,
that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that would work actually. Go around the
Aquaman,
city.
talk to some fish.
Yeah, I was gonna say Aquaman, Doctor Strange. That'd be a good game. That'd be a lot of puzzle based stuff.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
The Punisher. They did the Punisher, right? Yeah. PS2
possibly.
games.
I'm not sure. Phil Garside, if you don't put a Squarecrow joke in there in this episode, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Beat you to it.
I was going to say. I know what I was going to say to Dalton's question. I saw it earlier in the week. It's not necessarily a different superhero. It sort of is, but I want them to do Batman Beyond because I think that would be great.
Why is that?
Eric, if you're unfamiliar, Batman Beyond is basically Batman in the future. So a guy called Terry McGinnis takes over from an aging Bruce Wayne to become the new Batman.
Is that the one with the black
season
suit
pass
and the red
black suit with the red on?
Yeah.
No cape.
I had the Arkham Knight season pass, so you can get the Batman Beyond costume in that, and it's cool because he doesn't have a cape. So when you do the gliding and everything, that like the actual sort of wings come out.
Oh, do they? That's so cool.
Yeah. It's really cool. Mark Marcheshi, is there a game you ever felt proud to complete and get all the achievements for? I battled for days in those challenge modes to complete this game.
Ollie 2.
Yeah, you wrecked a DS. You wrecked a DualShock.
I destroyed a controller to get that platinum.
So I will say the original Demon Souls. I don't have the platinum. I'm one trophy away from it, but I gave up on it because the only way to do it would be to spend like another 40 hours grinding a single material or cheat the system with the online play. Otherwise, I have literally everything else for that game. And I think that's my best gaming achievement that I'm the most proud of. Just beating that game in general the first time around is like, all right, I did it.
This year, I've been quite proud to get all the achievements for both Crash Team Racing and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Jesus.
Nice. I'm not much of a trophy/achievement hunter. The only two games where I've actively gone for all of them, one was Spider-Man, because I loved it, and it was an easy platinum.
I've done that as well.
Yeah, and the other one randomly was the first Sly Raccoon on PS3, because I was just playing it like just casually, and I don't know why, but I just happened to look at the trophy list on the PS3, and I realized that I was close to getting the platinum. I was like, may as well get it.
I did that with the Ratchet and Clanks and the Uncharted games, because when Uncharted 2 and 3 came out, I intentionally started on hard just so I didn't have to go from normal to hard then to God mode, so it's just one fewer playthrough.
Yeah. I was playing Uncharted 4 recently, and the trophies on that are actually really hard to get. I mean, they've got this standard, like, play on hard, crushing, all that stuff, but there's also one called, like, speedrun, where you have to finish it in a certain time. And so you need multiple playthroughs to get all the trophies on that game.
Yeah, and I didn't do it on Uncharted 4 just because that game was a little bit longer, and by this point, I had a lot more games to play.
Standard.
Daniel Queen, who I think is a new contributor. I don't think I've seen the name before. People have been debating for years who is the best Joker. Heath Ledger is always a popular choice, and of course, Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I always
Joaquin. It's not Joaquin.
See, I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah. Anyway, can now be included in the discussion.
I said it was Joaquin when I first saw it. So.
Personally, I've always loved Mark Hamill's portrayal. Who is your favorite Joker and why?
Jared Leto.
Fuck off.
Hashtag damaged.
Wrecked.
Oh, man. He sucks.
Mine is Mark Hamill.
No, Heath Ledger.
I'm still in the camp that even though Mark Hamill does it as voice actor, I think physically he would be an excellent Joker as well against an older Batman.
I don't want to fat shame or anything like that, but I think he'd have to lose a bit of weight now because like Joker's generally quite a slim guy, and Mark Hamill's a bit doughy around the middle these days, isn't he?
But wasn't he like 80?
Neither of you watch The Flash, do you?
No.
Yeah, he was the trickster, wasn't he?
He was, and he was basically the Joker.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see that.
I tell you who doesn't get enough love as the Joker. So this is going to be kind of spoilers for the Gotham series that kind of wrapped up earlier this year. But the guy who is actually the main character in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a guy called Cameron Monaghan, he portrays a version of the Joker in the Gotham series. Oh, yeah. And spoilers, he actually portrays quite a few different versions of him for various reasons. And he's real good. As the series kind of progresses, it takes influences from many different Jokers. Again, I won't spoil the reasons why, but there's areas where he's a bit like he's a bit like, what's his name, Jack Nicholson's Joker, then bits where he's a bit like Heath Ledger's Joker, and then like bits where he's like Mark Hamill's, and then like other
he's got
other
an
versions
interesting
as well.
Smile on his face.
That's a good way to portray the Joker, because the Joker is traditionally an unreliable narrator. So you never know anything about him, like his backstory, whether he's telling the truth. He says in these interviews, for example, on Arkham Asylum, he'll say various different things about how his backstory, and then in The Dark Knight, for example, all the stories about how he got these scars on his face are always contradictory.
Yeah, but yeah, if you take a look, if you're interested in like kind of versions of the Joker and stuff, Cameron Monaghan, he nails it. He's real good in my opinion.
So,
I started watching Gotham, and then it wasn't shown on English TV anymore, so I stopped watching it.
It's on Netflix.
I know, I don't
UK
have
Netflix.
I think if I had to choose a real world portrayal, it would be Heath Ledger, but animated portrayal, this may be because I've watched it a ton with my kids, but Zach Galifianakis from Lego Movie. Or Lego Batman.
Realize that was him.
Yeah, Lego Batman.
I do like Lego Batman. It's a good film.
Shannon McIntosh, did anyone else get their file corrupted? I was quite a way through this game and was enjoying it, but I ended up doing a rage quit and shut the system down in the middle of a death, which I later read online will trash your file, so I've never seen it through. I didn't know this was a thing. I had a quick Google about this when I saw this question.
I think that's standard for every game.
Off while it's saving.
Don't shut it down while it's saving.
It does always tell you. If Eric can notice that, so can everybody.
Yeah.
But apparently it's quite notorious in this game. I didn't know. But no, I've never had that happen.
We have a couple emails.
I'm surprised.
If you want to send us an email, factorysealed@manatank.com. First one from Adam Dallas. Hey, gang. So my question is, do you have any games that you thought you liked more than you actually like? What I mean by that is, do you enjoy the memory of a game more than actually playing the game? For me, it's the original Pokemon games. They have such charm and nostalgia that they instantly transport me back to 1999 and playing them for the first time. And I just have such a soft spot for them, however, more than 10 minutes of playing, and I very quickly find my interest starting to wane, and I become aware of those rose-colored glasses on my face. Also, I posted a sign. Always look forward to the next show. Adam Dallas.
First Kingdom Hearts, when we replayed that this year.
I realized was going to bring that up. Yeah, that's not... That's not aged particularly
all right,
well.
Tom. God, next you'll be seeing Death Stranding shit.
I would say Little Big Planet.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, that's one that I played a ton when it first came out. Had a buddy that would come over. We would build shit together all the time. But I think trying to go back to it now, like, did I really like doing this, or was it just the game I had at the time and just poured my life into? I mean, I made some dumb shit. I'm
going to say Final Fantasy VIII.
You can go to hell.
I'm kidding.
Hey, how many times do you press square in that when you're boosting your GFs?
That's why I like it so much. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, we talked about Final Fantasy again.
By the way, sidebar, I still didn't press square once.
In the whole game?
In the whole game of playing Arkham Asylum this time, yeah. Didn't press square once.
Yeah, you pressed X.
Is that because you played on Xbox, Mike?
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
Oh.
He hasn't said this joke at least 4 times this week already.
He really just wanted to shoehorn it into the show. Dan,
Sorry,
what's your real choice?
I said I didn't really have an answer. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Dan likes every game he plays.
No. We've played some shite for this show. I can tell you that.
Really didn't like Destiny 2.
Ooh.
Oh, God. Talk about a turd in the punch bowl.
I know. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts would be the big one for me. Like, I remember really enjoying that the first time, and then especially when we replayed it this year, and it's a clunky, disjointed mess in places. And
I think you could say a lot of handheld games or 16-bit games. Not the RPG style stuff or some of the better 2D platformers, but played a lot of shit as kids.
Oh, I've got one. I really used to enjoy Golden Axe, but if you play it, it's clunky as hell.
Or like Altered Beast. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Those games are not good.
I mean, the very essence of this show is for us to go back and play old games and see if they hold up, and, we compare them to modern gaming.
I thought it was talk shite
like
and occasionally talk about a game.
Oh, well, there is that as well. Yeah. But, we do this a lot where we have to avoid the rose-tinted glasses, and we have to compare these games to these modern experiences, and it can be hard. And it's not necessarily, I mean, the question is phrased of, is the memory of playing it better than the actual game? But like, at the time, if that was he brings up Pokemon. At the time, Pokemon was fucking mind-blowing, and going back and playing with those rudimentary systems and how finicky that game is, and you're comparing it to the modern experience, like, it's never, ever really going to hold up.
Interesting. Last email, Eric.
Jay Jorgensen writes in, "Gay guys. I have a question that I'm sure Mr. Dan Curtis can answer, but I'll throw that out to the whole FS crew as well. Final Fantasy
I like how he's added that in.
I do elongate your name a little bit more than
you do.
In Final Fantasy VII,
you love me the best.
Why is Aerith's house so damn nice? It's in a sunny spot with a gigantic garden with little ponds all around it and a nice fence, and not more than 30 feet away is the absolute dumpster of Sector 5 slums. Is Elmira Don Corneo's main girl? Is she working the foster care system for taking care of Aerith? Maybe she's the real underground mafia boss. Thoughts? Resident Final Fantasy expert?
Well, I suspect for this, it ties into the theme of Aerith being pure and, like, at one with the planet. So the things she touches, for example, she grows flowers in the church where there shouldn't really be flowers growing because it's in the slums of Midgar. But I have no explanation for why they have a nice house. Maybe Mum's shagging around or something like that. But but outside the house where it's sunny, I imagine that's a metaphor for Aerith's pure spirit and shit like that. I don't know.
I'm going to go a bit more practical on the sunlight thing. If you actually look on that, this isn't saying anything about the nice house or anything, but if you actually look at that that area that the house is in, the sunlight kind of comes in from the side, and I think it's just on the very edge of Midgar, because it is kind of near there anyway, because that's how you go back in there, and I think the sun is maybe shining diagonally in. It's just like close enough to the edge that like it doesn't cover the entire thing.
He's not wrong, though. I've never really thought of it like this, because you do have that other cesspit on the other side where that guy's in the tube going, this guy are sick. And
I wonder how often she gets robbed.
Not again.
Yeah, but everyone is kind of living in squalor around there, and there she's like, "Oh, I'm Elmira.
Oh, Elmira.
It's my lovely house.
Don't mind if I do."
Darling, don't look at the man wallowing in his own shit. Come over here. But, Mommy, he's eating it.
Oh, dear.
He's very hungry, darling. Very hungry.
Is that it for questions?
I think it is. Unless you got some more hidden emails in there.
I don't. But we should probably talk about the Secret Santa.
Ugh.
That is...
No, I'm joking. It's a good thing.
Anyone who has signed up for it should have received their email from me with who they have received. So check that out. I know there were a couple people that wanted to sign up but missed the window. I told them to still sign up. I'll see what we can do about getting some stuff arranged. But yeah, check your email for it. Try to have that kicked out So it gets there, around Christmas time. So we have a few weeks yet. So otherwise, we'll send Santa Yam to find you.
Throw you in a lake.
He will throw you in a lake. And yeah.
If you've ever seen a picture of Tom, you'll understand how scary that could be.
Look at the Santa Yam picture that I posted. That's who will be coming down your chimney.
Oh, speaking of things that people have posted, everyone go on our podcast community and see the video that Dan did of Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik dancing to our theme tune. Possibly my favorite thing on the internet this week.
I didn't realize you enjoyed it that much.
I loved it. I thought it was, I didn't know what to expect. I kind of like, you did end up doing it to North Coral and afterwards as well, but like, which actually didn't tickle me as much as I thought it would. But when you posted it, I was like, he's done North Coral, hasn't he? And then I heard it was the theme tune. I was like, oh, this is so good.
It worked.
It goes so well.
Yeah, it really does.
So we've had a little bit of a change of plans moving forward for our next show.
Eric is quitting, and I'll be taking over as main host.
Jesus Christ.
Good Lord. Welcome to the dumpster fire.
If you can do it, I can.
Yeah, I was about to say. Mike is not going to be on the next show, and he had chosen Metroid Prime.
I believe he is moving house.
Yeah, hopefully, if it's ready for us. It's been
Moose
delayed,
loose about the hoose. He will be gone.
It's looking promising that it'll happen. It's looking promising, but we'll see.
So we threw
have you still got
community
a toilet
vote.
in your kitchen?
Yeah, we threw a community vote out there. Dan, Tom, and I each picked a game and let you guys vote on it. And we have landed on the titular Dino Crisis 2, which is your choice?
No, it's Tom's.
No, Tom's.
It's Tom's. Ooh.
You chose Black.
Revenge of Shinobi.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I wanted to play Black. Maybe I'll stick that on the calendar for next year. Fortunately, it's a short game because after that, we have Resident Evil 4 coming up. We are going to push that a week because I will be in Belize on the 15th of December, so we're going to push that to the 22nd.
Eric's actually taking some time off.
It's a work function.
Oh, fuck, it is, isn't it? Eric's actually having a holiday. Oh, balls.
No such thing. I don't think I've taken a day off.
Still be stressing caffeine there for him, don't worry.
And beer. So, but yeah, we'll be doing Resident Evil 4. Then we've got our Game of the Year show. That's 2019.
It's one of my favorite shows every year, that is.
I fucking love it.
You know what? At the beginning of this year, looking at what was going to be released and stuff, I thought this year's Game of the Year was probably going to be quite easy. Like the list, our Game of the Year list would be quite easy, but I think it's going to be a lot harder than I previously thought.
So I counted up all the games that I remembered playing, and I think to date I'm at almost 60, and a solid 40-ish, 45 of those I've completed. So it's tough. I can't nail down a top 10.
That's good going for a guy who always abandons games.
I know. Imagine how many I've abandoned. This week's episode is brought to you by our wonderful Patreon sponsors, with an extra special thank you to Zach Foley, Santos Lopez, Sarah Irvine, Wes Rainey, Taylor Favor, Phil Gartside, Nicholas Bradley, James Hall, Thomas McGrew, Richard Cuttress, Jordan Lawfrey, Stephanie, Chad Schaefer, Miles Prower, Jeremy Lucas, Shannon McIntosh, and Samuel Chun.